some reason.
Oh, because I muted you instead
You
of
muted
just...
me. Oh no, I'm muted. Ah.
Hang on, shut up for a second while I do
No.
this. No, because it'll start.
Oh.
Okay.
Ah. Okay. Now it's me, Navi the fairy. Hi.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Oh no, it just looks like that. Okay. It pauses every time I click off of the game.
Yeah. Off of the legitimate N64.
Yeah, I just want to make you a little bit bigger.
Want to be a little bit bigger? Yeah. Whip. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
There you go.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi everybody. Oh wow, we actually have somebody at the beginning.
Hi, Ham.
Hello, Ham.
Yeah. Abby
Anyway,
Ham
let's
is good.
play this video game. This is what I was talking about. This is what I was fucking talking about. It's not set up. I don't know why it's not set up. I don't know why it's not connected, but it's not connected.
It's doing something.
There it goes. It was configuring itself.
No,
There
we're playing
we go.
Ocarina of Time.
We are playing Ocarina of Time because there were some technical issues with the previous game, and we all get the gist of it.
I lost access to Nintendo Online.
There were some technical issues.
I was stupid. It was my fault. What's the A button? B is the A button?
A is the A button.
A is the A button.
On the legitimate controller. All right. What is our character's name?
Ooh, because
Because this is important. We had Milk in the last game,
We had Milk.
and the first game was Lelzed.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
Gunther's pretty good.
I feel like it has to start with an L or be related to Link somehow.
His name is maybe his name is
This is why we don't give power to chat.
yeah, okay, no, chat's banned from names. What about yeah, I know that's part of the problem is coming up with a funny name that the Grunts haven't used already.
Well, that's why I suggest that all of ours start with L or are related to Link in some way.
How about lasagna?
Okay. How do you spell lasagna? It's got a
GN.
GN?
Yeah, it's lasagna,
Lasagna.
I think. Hang on, I'm gonna Google it.
I don't think it matters. This is his name. Alright, his name's Lasagna.
Okay, yeah, lasagna. That's how you spell it.
Alright, lasagna. Let's go.
In the vast, deep forest of Hyrule. I'm gonna do an epic narration.
Yeah, do it.
Long have I served as the guardian spirit. I am known as the Deku Tree. Children of the forest, the Kokiri, live here with me. Each Kokiri has his or her own guardian fairy. However, there is one boy who does not have a fairy.
Oh man.
Or anti-aliasing. We hadn't invented that yet.
Nope. Didn't exist yet.
Sorry.
The CRT
Sorry.
did it
Serious
for us.
Serious narration.
The CRT does all the anti-aliasing and we don't have that anymore.
Very serious.
Yeah,
Serious
it's
narration.
very serious. Serious face.
Serious shit going on.
Oh shit.
This was the world's first introduction to Ganondorf, and what an intro.
It looks fucking hideous. Looks like
He's like, oh fuck, oh fuck. Navi, where art thou? Come hither. Oh, Navi the Fairy, listen to my words, the words of the Deku Tree. Dost thou sense it, the climate of evil descending upon this realm? You all can hear me in my epic voice, right? Yeah, you totally can. Malevolent forces, even now, are mustering to attack our land of Hyrule. For so long, the Kokiri Forest, the source of life, has stood as a barrier, deterring outsiders and maintaining the order of the world. No yawning. Navi, this is important.
Sorry.
Pay attention now. But before this tremendous evil power, even my power is as nothing. It seems the time has come for the boy without a fairy to begin his journey. The youth whose destiny it is to lead Hyrule to the path of justice and truth. Lasagna. Navi, go now. Find our young friend and guide him to me. I do not have much time left. Fly, Navi, fly! The fate of the forest, nay, the world depends upon thee. Navi's adorable and I'll hear nothing else.
No, I love her. She's only a little annoying. Hello! 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 That's really cute.
Runs into a fucking wall. You're like, look at all these camera angles we can do now.
Look at this 2D ass background.
Hello? Hello, Lasagna? Wake up! The Great Deku Tree wants to talk to you. Lasagna, get up!
Don't wanna.
Hey, come on! And Hyrule's destiny really depend on such a lazy boy?
I'm tired.
Oh, pointy hat. He's
He's
adorable.
You finally woke up! I'm Navi the Fairy. The Great Deku Tree asked me to be your partner from now on. Nice to meet you. The Great Deku Tree has summoned you. So let's get going right now.
Okay.
Hopefully that voice doesn't become obnoxious.
It's fine.
I just look over and my phone is open to a Google search of lasagna.
Yeah. You left the Discord thing.
Oh shit! I close my phone and it'll give him whatever. Back.
Yahoo! Hi, Lasagna.
Hi.
How do I differentiate my Saria voice from my...
I feel like Saria would be softer.
Hi, Lasagna. Oh, my favorite voice. Wow, a fairy. Fine. A fairy came to you, Lasagna. Wow, that's great news. I'm so happy for you. Now you're a true Kokiri, Lasagna. Is that right? The Great Deku Tree has summoned you. It's quite an honor to talk to the Great Deku Tree. Oh, wait here. Get going. Go see the Great Deku Tree.
I'm sorry that you have to listen to my voices the entire stream, but I'm also
Nah.
not sorry because my voices are awesome.
No, they're good.
And,
That's why we're here.
Rupees,
Rupees?
you gotta collect them.
Yeah.
Go in that house.
In what house?
Not that house. Wait, is that Mido's house? Yeah, go in that house. I think that's Mido's house. Nope, wrong house. Leave that
There's
house.
hearts in here.
There's hearts in here, but you don't need hearts. Go in that house.
Okay.
I think that's Mido's house. Nope, wrong house again, but you can break that jar. Sorry, there is a house one of the houses around here has 4 treasure chests you can loot.
The 2D backgrounds are tripping me out.
2D pre-rendered. It's the shit. Oh, it's just some lady. Hello, some lady.
My sister took some rupees and went shopping at the store that has a red roof. Speaking of rupees, a green one is worth 1, a blue one is worth 5, and a red one is worth 20.
I've lived here my whole life. I'm not stupid.
I'm 12.
I'm 12.
That's the shop.
Yeah, that's the shop. Where's the Deku Tree?
Deku Tree's that way. You see that big, splatter-looking thing?
Hey you, Mr. No Fairy! What's your business with the Great Deku Tree?
I have a fairy.
Without a fairy, you're not even a real man!
I have a fairy.
What? You got a fairy? Say what? The Great Deku Tree actually summoned you? What? Why would he summon you and not the Great Mito?
Because you stuck.
This isn't funny. I don't believe it. You aren't even fully equipped yet. How do you think you're gonna help the Great Deku Tree without both a sword and a shield ready? I don't know why he's Meowth, but he's Meowth now.
He's Meowth.
You're right, I don't have my equipment ready, but if you want to pass through here, you should at least equip a sword and shield. Sheesh.
You're a bitch.
Yeah, but look at his shuffle.
He do be shuffling. Honestly, he looks like he sounds like that.
If you really want to, you can backflip around him and clip him into the floor.
Really?
Yeah, that's how speedrunners do it.
Do it.
Well, no, it's really precise.
Aww. Penny's a coward. Penny's a coward.
Oh, that's the house.
This is the house.
Anyway, go rob Mito's house. That's his
Okay.
house. You can just steal all his shit.
He's a bitch, so, cool.
Yeah. Use it, use it, use it, use it.
Ick.
So I've been playing so many randomizers of this game that, like, I basically have every, like, item location memorized at this point.
Oh, yeah. I have a feeling the sensitivity of my joystick is gonna be a problem.
It might be a bit of an issue, but that's okay. It won't be as big of an issue as it would be if you were playing, say, Mario 64.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the thing you want to do now is explore.
Okay. Gotta find a sword and a shield, right?
Gotta find a sword and a shield.
What's in this house?
So explore, talk to people. I know where to go, but I'm not going to tell you because it's more fun if you just explore. Let me know if you want me to tell you where to go, but otherwise, I'm your Navi. I'll be more helpful than real Navi. These are the Know-All Brothers.
Oh, yeah?
They give you basic information.
Oh, just remember this. If you want to save, press start to get into the subscreens, then press B.
How do you
That's important
know
information. You should do it right now. Just to make sure the game doesn't fucking crash. Okay, it doesn't. We're gonna press beep. Is your pause screen. You're gonna be seeing a lot of it. Nope. The actual B button. There we go.
I didn't remember what the actual B button was.
It's B.
It's B.
It's B. It's
Not
the B
X.
button on the. It's the B button on the N64. No, you don't want to learn anything here. Fuck these guys. Well, if you play around with it, you'll figure it out. That's also what I said. You know, when I hit puberty.
Well,
Another camera angle on these pre-rendered shit scenes.
that's cool.
You want to know something cool?
Hmm.
I didn't know about that. I never tried it. I never bothered.
I can teach you about the icons at the top of the screen.
No,
No.
you have to.
The blue icon at the top of the screen is called the action icon. This action icon shows you what action you will perform when you press A. In many spots, see the different things you can do. Don't talk to me again.
The other ones gave me the option to say no.
Yep, well... Also, read signs. Recklessly cut signs, read them carefully. The Forest Training Center is a place you should be going to.
Well, but I don't have a sword.
You need to go there to get a sword.
Oh.
It said don't recklessly cut signs. Thrust attack signs.
Okay, but I don't have a sword.
Well, there's a hole. There's a hole in the bottom of the log. There's a hole in the bottom of the log. There's a hole. There's a hole.
What?
The great Deku Tree has summoned you. Please come with me.
No, I know.
Is that the voice I was using?
I don't know.
Pretty much.
Hello. I gotta do the voice too. There's the voice. It's this one. It's the same as my N64 Toad voice.
Oh, yeah. Yo!
Yo.
Sign doesn't have voice acting. It's a sign.
Yeah. Oh, what the fuck?
Go that way. Chase the boulder. Chase the boulder. No, don't go that way. There's boulders. Go quick to the right, to the right, to the right, to the right.
What? What hit me?
The boulder. Okay,
No.
now go.
The boulder wasn't anywhere near me.
Yes, it was. It was just invisible.
What? Then how was I supposed to know it was there?
Well, it wasn't invisible unless it was in the camera. You got the Kokiri sword!
Da 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 da.
On the equipment subscreen, select it with the cursor and equip it with the A button. This is a hidden treasure of the Kokiri, but you can borrow it for a while. Be sure to practice with it before you really fight.
Okay.
Gotta equip it. Equipment subscreen. That's this one.
Ooh.
Now, save your game. Basically, you should be saving your game constantly all the time. Pretty much, if you want to close the pause menu without saving your game, you can just press start again. Oh my gosh. I'm only laughing because I've done that a million times.
It was right fucking there.
Yeah, sure was. Nice that you have a map at the beginning, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You automatically have maps of all outdoor areas.
Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh.
But indoor areas, like dungeons and shit, you're gonna need.
I wish I
Oh, by
could
the way,
move the camera.
you can. L.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Z targeting, sorry, I mean the Z button. Z targeting is important. It's in fact one of the most important things. So,
Whoops.
swordplay works like this.
I broke the sign.
If you are not Z targeting, then slashing while standing still will do a horizontal slash. You can combo it into several more if you mash the button. If you are moving, you will do a vertical slash. If you are Z targeting, you'll do a vertical slash standing still, or you'll slash in whatever direction you happen to be moving the stick. This can actually be useful to get around shields sometimes. If you will move forward, you'll stab. This has the longest range. Now, what you want to do is go to the shop.
Okay.
Sorry.
What you want to do is go to the shop. It's the building with the red roof. Hi, Lasagna. Look this way. Look over here with C. Talk to me with A. Yeah, that's how you use a fairy. It's so great that you finally have a fairy partner. I'll teach you how to talk to people using your fairy. When a fairy flies near a person or thing, press C to look in that direction. If you use Z targeting, you can talk to people from a distance, like we're doing now. When you have nothing that you can target, you can press C just to look forward. Try it.
Okay, thanks.
That's really fucking important. So, like, don't forget. Okay, run around to the back. Okay, now you can talk to the short guy. Welcome. We sell shields, but not swords. You gotta go get more rubles. When you got more rubles, go talk to me. I got the shield for you. Alright, so what you want to do is you want to hop, skip across them rocks. Okay, so you see... hold on a sec. Hold on a fucking second. Stop moving. Stop cutting shit. Move around. Move around. Okay, well, you see those... No. Look towards the shop. See those little platforms right next to the shop? Jump from one to the other. Get a running spot. Go. Boom! Free blue ruble. Also, if you look in the grass, there's more rubles. But you don't need those, you got 40. You got 40, that's enough for your shield.
Yeah, but always need rubles.
Yeah, but you get a lot of rubles in the dungeon. So, bibbidi bobbidi. Bibbidi bobbidi ruble. Beep bop boobidi boo boo. It's lasagna, it's Italian.
No! Oh, I regret.
Welcome.
This one.
I got a surprisingly low voice for like a little boy, but don't worry about it.
That's not what
Forget
lasagna
about it.
sounds
No,
like.
that's what the shopkeeper sounds like. Forget about it. Press R to crouch and defend. If you press R while Z targeting, you can move while defending. Would you like something else?
No.
You broke ass bitch, go get some more rubles.
I'll rubu your face.
Oh shit. You went the long way around?
I don't know where things are yet.
I know. I'm just saying, you went the long way around. Now you're fully equipped. Alright, I gotta get my Meowth voice ready for fucking Mito.
Meow, that's right.
Meow, that's right. I got a bit of a New York thing going on. If you want to see the Great Deku Tree, you should at least equip a sword and a shield.
You have them.
Eh? What's that? Oh, you have a Deku shield. And what's that? Is that the Kokiri sword? Good grief. Well, you want all that stuff. A wimp is still a wimp, huh? I'm Joey Wheeler. I, the great Mito, will never accept you as one of us.
Uh-huh.
Shoot! How'd you get to be the favorite of Saria and the Great Deku Tree, huh?
Because I'm not an asshole.
Fucking piece of shit. Piece of shit, lasagna. God, my name is Lasagna anyway. Cut those guys.
Bitch.
You got a stick. Those guys give you sticks if you cut them. You need sticks. Sticks are good. Sticks are useful. If you want to put it away, stand still and press A. You can carry up to 10 sticks, but don't waste them. That's what Lasagna sounds like in his own head. Outside, he sounds like, yeah.
Yep.
Great Deku Tree, I'm back. Hello. Hello.
I just really like
That's
it.
my toad voice.
That's gonna be a good vocal stim.
Thou hast returned. Lasagna. Listen carefully to what I, the Deku Tree, is about to tell. My dude, welcome. I'm about to tell thee. Thy slumber these past moons must have been restless and full of nightmares. As the servants of evil gain strength, a vile climate pervades the land and causes nightmares to those sensitive to it. Verily, thou hast felt it. He's a tree, he talks slowly. Lasagna, the time has come to test thy courage. Can you hear me when I go deep? Yes.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
He's a big boy.
Big boy Mike.
Big boy Mike.
Square.
Square.
I have been cursed. I need you to break the curse with your wisdom and courage. Try to make the voice like deep, but also kind of like soft and kind. You know? I'm. Well, the music is so good, and everyone needs to hear it.
Yeah, but it needs to be quieter than your voice.
That's true. It does need to be quieter than my voice. Okay, continue. Dost thou have courage enough to undertake this task?
No. What if I say
Yes,
no?
you do, bitch.
What if I say no?
Then you go away.
Really?
No. He asks you again. But thou must.
Oh.
Perhaps you do not yet have confidence in your abilities. Return to the Kokiri Forest to learn the skills of combat. When thou art ready, return here and speak with me by using Z.
Talk to him.
Did I get?
Talk to.
You fucked it up.
Talk to him.
Get close. Get close to him. Get closer to him.
Okay, there we go.
I have been cursed. I need you to break the curse with your wisdom and courage.
Okay.
You're 12. Dost thou have courage enough to undertake this task?
No, but I'm gonna say yes anyways.
Then enter, brave Lasagna. And thou too, Navi. Raw. And Lasagna, when Navi speaks, use up-C to listen well to her words of wisdom. She mostly spouts bullshit, but occasionally it's useful. Go in my mouth. Nom 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 nom.
Nom nom nom.
Just another delicious hero snack. Alright, Navi, bring the next hero.
Eat Mido.
I'm still hungry. Go get Mido, yeah.
He's an asshole.
Cut him. Wrong button.
Ah!
Use the B button. Gotta beep, beep. And don't forget, use the R button, right bumper, to shield. Your shield is your most important asset. If you're Z targeting, you move. You can move while using it. It's super duper important, and anytime you're not like actively attacking, you basically want to have your shield up.
Cool.
Get that stick.
That's a big stick.
You know what they say, speak softly and carry a big stick. That's a nut.
I'm already dying.
Yep. Got more shit. Mine hurts.
What?
Just like in previous games, I'm gonna do my best to...
You said hey. What?
Look, Lasagna! You can see down below this web using up-C.
Okay. Why is it airplane controls?
I don't know. Just inverted Y.
Why?
Inverted, yeah.
No, why?
Yeah, inverted Y.
This is what happens. You just throw up.
No, he tried to pick up the bush, but he couldn't because he's 12.
Oh, it looked like he's like, what? Oh, here we go.
Look at this wall. The line's growing on it, give it a rough surface. Maybe you can climb it, Lasagna.
Maybe you can... I don't like them. Oh no, I really don't like them.
That's an iconic sound effect, though.
It's not the sound. I found a map.
I know they wig you out, huh? I knew they would. Well, luckily you don't have to go anywhere near them, and they won't move as long as you're not climbing on that wall.
Okay.
They'll only move to attack you if you're moving on the wall when they're facing you.
No, I just wanted to move the camera. Stop targeting. Help.
It won't ever stop targeting.
Well, how am I supposed to move?
Hold it. I don't know. Try going on the wall. That'll or going far away. That'll cancel it.
Okay.
Anyway, go past there. You don't need to deal with those guys yet.
There's a door.
You can open a door by standing in front of it and pressing A. You gotta remember that this was the first 3D Zelda game. Nobody knew this shit yet. Pay attention to what the action icon says. That's the blue icon at the top of the screen. What's a screen? Fuck if I know. I'm just saying words. I had 30 milligrams of fucking weed before I came up here. Smoked a whole eighth.
You gotta chase him. You gotta chase him down. Get far enough away that he'll spit at you. I kind of like the idea that Navi's just high as shit the entire time.
Ow, 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 ow. Forgive me, master. If I give you a clue, will you let me go?
Yep.
When you jump off a high cliff, if you hold forward, you'll roll on the ground when you land and won't get hurt from the fall.
Is that easy?
I can't guarantee it'll work, though, if the cliff is really, really high. Like Navi. Well, try it if you're feeling bold.
Dang.
Sorry, Lasagna, where are we? Oh shit, this room. Okay, cool. Just like, keep going.
You know what this voice sounds like? It sounds like Aaron's Zelda voice.
Aaron's Zelda voice is kind of like this, though. Slurp. Slurp.
You found the fairy slingshot. On the select item subscreen, you can set it to right, down, or left.
Okay.
Press C to take it down, take it out, and hold it. As you hold C, you can aim with the control stick. Release C to unleash a Deku Seed. If you want to shoot right away, when you first press C, hold down C a little longer to get a seed ready. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, turn. Turn to the right. Climb that. See, I know where all the hidden chests are, too.
Yeah. Kick.
It's a recovery heart.
Didn't need it.
You didn't need it, it's true. But if you did need it, it would have been really
But you didn't
useful.
know what was in that chest, did you?
No, I had no idea. I've been playing the randomizer. Anyway, you gotta equip your thing. So down C. It seems awkward, but you gotta remember that on the legitimate N64 controller, those are buttons.
Yeah, they're buttons. So, I did know that. I played N64.
I know you're playing it right now with a legitimate N64 controller. That's
yes,
real. A
but
real
I
N64
mean,
controller
but I
that's
mean,
very
I
real.
played in my
And not
childhood.
an Xbox 360 controller.
Definitely not. I'm gonna have to deal with those guys now.
Yep, just shoot them. If you lock onto them, you can guarantee to hit them. Otherwise, you kind of want to aim like... No, don't... If you're not actively locked onto them, don't Z-target. So aim up. You'll get a handle on where the aiming is after a bit. It takes a little practice, though. Though, generally, you want to aim right in the middle of the two, like... Y branches. So try doing it try hitting that guy without locking on. So aim like right in the middle of the two Y branches, the two red bits. Right in the middle of the two red bits is where you're gonna hit. See? Easy peasy to actually aim that. But now that you've done it once, you just, kill them. That's all of them. For now.
Ew.
Got this. It's okay, you only have to deal with them for the rest of the game.
Don't like.
You can drop down with A.
Oh, there was actually a platform. I wasn't
Yep.
sure.
Okay, so for those guys, you want to wait until they face away from you and then cut them with your sword.
Like,
It's a B button. Your shield doesn't fucking work while you can't stab and shield at the same time. Got him. Nope, you're too late. But as soon as he faces away from you, fucking stab him. And get back up. Get him. Why are you so fucking slow, Link?
because I fucking hate it. I don't like it.
I know you don't like it.
Ah!
Just kill it.
Ah!
That's why you're killing it. It's a monster. You gotta kill the monster.
Ah!
Alright, so there's the guy there. Hanging out. You can't kill him from here. You gotta get closer. So for this guy, you can just kind of jump around him. You gotta hit the switch. It's a Deku Baba. Hit the switch.
Switch.
That starts a timer. Hop around that guy.
I fucked it up.
Sure did.
Forgetting what fucking buttons are.
We'll get a handle on it. Just takes a little practice.
Yeah.
And beeping.
A lot of beeping. There's gonna be a lot of beeping, I'm sorry.
Okay, you can just jump straight across. You don't have to jump to the second.
I did it.
Great. Cut those and maybe you'll get a recovery heart to stop the beeping. There you go. Cool.
I got...
You got Deku seeds. These are small, hard seeds that you could use as bullets for your slingshot.
Taken back.
Sure did. This is the first dungeon. They are pretty lenient here.
Oh, that guy's gonna get me. Compass!
You found the compass. Now you can see the locations of many hidden things in the dungeon. He's not gonna get you. He's dried out. You cut him and he'll guaranteed give you a stick. Speaking of which, you should equip your sticks. And the nuts. Because there's nothing else to equip there. So you might as well. Alright. Now, what you want to do is get those platforms going again.
Why?
Trust me. There's another chest in here.
No, I know there's another chest in here, I just don't.
That works. Kill that guy too. Use your sword. Use your sword. Just kill him with your sword.
Targeting.
You don't have to target. Just kill him. You can't target gold Skulltulas.
Why?
You just can't. It's part of their powers. You destroyed a gold Skulltula. You got a token proving you destroyed it. Only 99 more of those to go.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
No, you're not.
Uh,
But it's worth it to get at least 50 of them.
Why can't I
Anyway.
leave?
Because the door is locked. Solve the puzzle. Around. Puzzles all on this one platform. Torch on one side, unlit torch on the other side.
Oh.
420 blaze it. So, there's a speed run. If you put the stick away before it burns, then you get the stick. Okay.
Oh, I just did that automatically.
Yep. Here's what you want to do. Kill that guy. Kill him. Just kill him. There's about 10,000 of them. Just kill them. Stop whinging about each one.
What? But that's entertaining. Maybe.
Not for me. Anyway, just gotta get closer so he comes back down. There you go. But not too close that he'll kill you. Okay. Shit. You want the sword. Sword. There we go.
No, I want the sword button. You told me to shield when I wasn't swording.
Yeah, but not against those guys. Those guys break through the shield. Anyway, jump off a cliff.
Okay.
Try to land on the spiderweb. Okay, now climb all the way back up.
Oh my god.
And try to land in the spiderweb this time.
You fucking kidding me?
Nope. Gotta land on the web.
How are you supposed to figure this out on your own?
People had a lot more time in the 90s. You gotta climb all the way back up. That means killing those Walchulas again. The Skulltulas on the wall. Nope, not that way. The vines.
Oh, the vine.
Quit complaining. You're the one who wanted to play through every Zelda game.
No, I suggested that we play the Zelda game because I thought it would be a fun thing to do, and I...
What's correct? It is fun.
Ah, there's still one up there.
Yep. It's fine. Just keep going.
Yeah, it's Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, everyone was a child in the 90s. Just like you, Hobbyham.
I wasn't alive in the 90s.
Rip. Anyway, jump off a cliff. The way you figure that out is that you gotta land right in the middle.
Are you kidding? You do it.
Okay, I'll do it.
I cannot.
Welcome.
How in the world are you supposed to figure that out?
Well, you notice how the thing moved when you landed on it?
Yeah.
So clearly there's an interaction there. Also, there's a recovery heart out in, like, the middle of the air. So if you were jumping for that to get that recovery heart, especially after that guy just told you that you can safely jump off of high places. You put all that information together and there you go.
He said to hold forward, and so when I jumped, I was holding forward, and I missed.
You did miss, yes.
So I listened to his advice, and I missed.
Let me know when you want your controller back.
No, it's fine. I'm really whiny today.
You are really whiny today, it's true.
It's probably better for you to
Alright, I guess I'm playing Zelda now, and
Yay!
Jack is
Penny
watching.
plays Zelda!
The rest of the Zelda series is Penny's playing it now, and Jack is just experiencing it through watching it because...
Because I'm a whiny little
Jack's
bitch.
a whiny little bitch. Anyway, I'm collecting the Skulltula tokens. Not all of them, just some of them.
All of that.
If you want me to collect all of them, I'll collect all of them.
we don't have time for that.
We don't have time for that bullshit. Yeah.
We don't have time to 100% anything.
You can tell I'm playing because the gameplay is actually good now.
Yeah. Because Penny has, like, 30 years of experience.
It's really more like 27 years of experience. I can't math. It's too early to math.
How old are you?
30.
No, you're... Oh, yeah, 30.
I started playing video games when I was 3.
No, I just confused your age and Moxie's age
Please.
for a second.
Please forgive me, Master. I'll never do it again. If you spare me, I'll teach you something cool. You will never beat my brothers up ahead unless you punish them in the proper order. The order is 2, 3, 1. 23 is number 1.
I was just
Do you
trying to
think
remember.
I'm a traitor? Yes.
I don't think she's 40. I thought she was 10 years older than me when she's 7 years older than me.
Yes.
I was just mathing wrong.
After you get into the water, if you hold down A, you can dive. But there are some interesting things underwater.
I asked Navi, like, I bet there's some cool stuff underwater.
Yeah, you
Have you ever thought about water? Like really thought about it?
you tell that to Moxie. You see her reaction on that one.
Lasagna, have you ever really thought about water?
No.
Lasagna, my hands are huge.
What if fairies
Stand
are
next
just...
to this block and grab hold of it with A. While holding A, you can push or pull it. If you stand next to the block and press A while pressing the control stick towards the block, you can climb on top of it. Pay attention to what the action icon says. This was fucking 2001. You didn't know this shit? Nobody knew this shit.
Yep. Was not alive. Yet.
This is fucking 9/11.
What?
9/11.
Wow. So true, bestie.
Actually, I think this game was 99.
Mm.
Anyway, I'm going to be running through these dungeons pretty quick because I already basically have the layouts memorized. So,
I'm here for the story. That's what I'm here for.
yeah, and like the experience of like seeing this game. You know?
Yeah.
Speaking of,
And
you need the
facilitating...
experience of these guys.
Oh, I love them.
That's a baby Goma.
I love them so much. That's my favorite Pokemon.
Bug type.
Goma larva, look out when he gets ready to pounce! Like that!
You can go through the entire game and never see these guys if you're doing it right.
Oh, yeah.
Also, oh, never mind. They have their weird little eggs are on the ceiling. If you shoot them before they show up, then you can kill them,
Mm.
and then they won't attack you. Vibing, we're vibing.
Everyone's just here for my, Navi/Toad voice! N64 Toad sounded like this! Whoa!
Yeah, he did.
Cut, short,
Benny and I
cut,
played a lot of
short, cut.
Mario Party a little while ago.
Yeah,
Now it's Pokemon.
now it's Pokemon.
We playing a lot of Pokemon.
Just like me, Jack works on obsession cycles.
And if we can get them to line up, it's magical.
Which we have with Pokemon.
Yeah. Let me just stand on this fire.
It's fine. There's water under it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jack, you remember the code?
231.
Correct! 23 is number 1.
Thank you. Hyperfixation coordination, the dream. Yeah,
Fixation coordination.
it's really good. We hang out in the living room and just like...
How did you know our secret? How irritating. It's so annoying that I'm going to reveal the secret of Queen Goma to you.
Oh.
In order to administer the coup de grace to Queen Goma, strike with your sword while she's stunned.
Did 3-year-old
Queenie.
Penny know what coup de grace
Sorry
is?
about that. Nope. The coup de grace. Gotta stop the coup.
The coup?
The coup. Hey, lasagna, did you deliver the coup? The coup de grace.
Who's Grace? Hydrate, thank you.
Drink wabob. Oh no, we're trapped in this big empty room. It's definitely empty and has nothing in it.
Yes, this big spooky room definitely doesn't have a monster in it. Oh, hello.
Hey, babe. How you doing, girl?
Shouldn't you hear me out,
Parasitic
Kate?
armored arachnid. Goma.
I'd allow her on a hear me out, Kate.
I'm not gonna kill her in one. I'm not gonna one cycle her, even though I could.
Why?
Because you deserve to see the whole fight.
Oh, yeah, fair.
Well, not the whole fight, but like the fight as I would have done it the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I can one cycle her by jump attacking with the sticks.
Ah.
So instead, I'll just two cycle her.
Nice. I feel like this is a much better viewing experience. Than me struggling to play Zelda. I don't know, what do you guys think?
We're certainly going to get through the games a lot faster.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Both have their merits.
It's true, yeah. More fun for me, honestly. Well
play?
done, lasagna. Yeah. Watching struggle, yeah. It is fun to watch Jack struggle.
Will probably watch me struggle in the, like, spring and summer.
Thou hast verily demonstrated thy courage.
Winter Jack has no patience.
I knew that thou wouldst be able to carry out my wishes. Now, I have yet more to tell ye. Wouldst thou listen?
Nope.
Yeah, okay. Now, listen carefully. A wicked man of the desert cast this dreadful curse upon me.
Man of the desert.
This guy.
Wicked man of the desert.
A wicked man of the desert. This evil man ceaselessly uses his vile sorcerous powers in his search for the sacred realm that is connected to Hyrule. For it is in that sacred realm that one will find the divine relic, the Triforce, which contains the essence of the gods.
Mm.
Ganondorf, don't steal my desert. Before time began, before spirits and life existed, it was raining. 3 golden goddesses descended upon the chaos that was Hyrule. Din, the goddess of power.
How was there chaos if there was no light?
Nehru, the
Light.
goddess of wisdom. Ferore, the goddess of courage.
Man, this must have been so cool when it first came out.
It fucking was.
I mean, it's cool now. Like, absolutely, it's really cool. But, like, seeing it for the first time as a little baby, and, like, this is one of the first, like, fully 3D games.
Din. And by chaos, they mean, like, primordial chaos. With her strong, flaming arms, she cultivated the land
I
and
thought that was a
created the
suit.
Red Earth. Nehru poured her wisdom into the earth and gave the spirit of law to the world. Like the laws of physics. Aurora, with her rich soul, produced all life forms who would uphold the law. Fireflies and grass. That's it.
Nice. That's all we need.
Hey, Kenj!
What's up, Kenj?
The
Penny's
3
playing.
great goddesses, their labors completed, departed for the heavens. Then golden sacred triangles remained at the point where the goddesses left the world. Since then, the sacred triangles have become the basis of our world's providence, and thus the resting place of the triangles has become the sacred realm. The sacred Doritos.
Hell yeah, sacred Dorito. I want a Dorito. Just one.
Oh shit! Doritos, that sounds great!
Thou must never allow the desert man in black armor to lay his hands on the sacred Triforce. Thou must never suffer that man with his evil heart to enter the sacred realm of legend. That evil man who cast the death curse upon me and sapped my power. Because of that curse, my end is nigh. Though your valiant efforts to break the curse were successful, I was doomed before you started.
I'm getting a headache.
Yes, I will pass away soon, but do not grieve for me. I have been able to tell you of these important matters. This is Hyrule's final hope. Lasagna, go now to Hyrule Castle. I forgot his name was Lasagna.
I think my first Zelda
There
was Breath
thou
of the
will
Wild.
surely meet the Princess of Destiny.
I don't think I really
Take
played
this stone
it
with you.
before.
The stone that man wanted so much that he cast the curse upon me.
No. Yeah, lasagna. No, my first Zelda was, Wind Waker.
Wind Waker, yep. Wind Waker was my real first Zelda too, because I played Ocarina first, but I never really got out of the forest as a kid. You got the Kokiri's Emerald. This is the spiritual stone of the forest, now entrusted to you by the great Deku Tree.
Did it just get too hard, or?
No, we just didn't know what to do.
Ah.
The future depends on thee, Lasagna. Thou art courageous.
Three-year-old Penny and
Nabby the
4-year-old Moxie
fairy.
didn't know what to do.
No, it was 3-year-old Penny and 3-year-old Danny.
Ah.
Help Lasagna to carry out my will. I entreat ye, Navi. Good.
Oh shit, is he dying?
Yeah, if you weren't paying attention to the cutscene,
No.
he said that even though you broke the curse successfully, he was doomed from the start because of the curse Ganondorf put on him.
Ah, okay.
I did the whole voice acting thing and you're just not even paying attention. Why do I bother? Why do I fucking bother?
For chat.
Let's go to Hyrule Castle, Lasagna.
Sorry,
Goodbye, great Deku Tree.
I would love to be paying attention.
I love you.
Truly, honestly, it's winter time. My brain has shut off. Like, if you guys think
Hey,
I'm
Lasagna!
distracted normally,
What did you do? The great Deku Tree, did he die? How could you do a thing like that? It's all your fault. What?
yes, I killed him.
Okay.
I, Lasagna, murdered the great Deku Tree.
What? Where are you going? Castle? Where's the castle?
Did he die the most nostalgic and cheerful childhood music?
Did our collective father just die?
Oh, you're leaving. I knew that you would leave the forest someday, Lasagna. Because you're different from me and my friends. But that's okay, because we'll be friends forever, won't we?
Yes.
I want you to have this ocarina. Please take good care of it. I made it from a potato.
Is that the ocarina?
No.
No.
It's not the ocarina, it's an ocarina.
Hey,
You received the
been
fairy ocarina. This is a memento from Saria. And it's a C, and press C to start playing it. On the select item subscreen, you can set it to webble, webble. You can play different notes with A and the 4 C buttons. Press B to quit playing or to start your song over again.
When you play my ocarina, I hope you'll think of me and come back to the forest to visit.
Oh, I'll be back here a lot.
Okay.
Goodbye. Especially you throw it away the moment you get a better one.
Wow. You have both?
He keeps it. You
Oh,
just
okay.
can't use it after that point. It gets upgraded. Because that would take an extra item slot, and they didn't want to do that.
Yeah, that's fair. There's limited memory.
Ew. It's K-Pora Gabora up there.
Okay. I am afraid every time you press the pause button. Because you told me it might crash. Beautiful.
Link doesn't know how to play.
I think Link knows how to play pretty well.
Link doesn't know any songs. Woot, woot. Lasagna, look up here. It appears that the time has finally come for you to start your adventure.
Who the fuck are you?
You will encounter many hardships ahead. That's your fate. Don't feel discouraged, even during the toughest times. Go straight this way, and you will see Hyrule Castle. You will meet a princess there. If you are lost and don't know which way to go, look at the map. The areas you have explored will be shown on the map. Press Start to enter the subscreens and Z or R to find the map. On the map subscreen, you will also see a flashing dot showing which way you should go next. Did you get all that? See, it defaults to no. So if you're mashing through, he just says it all again. That's why everyone hates this album.
Oh!
Alright then, I'll see you around. Hoot 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 ho ho ho!
This song is cool like the first 2 times it loops and never again. Which song?
The
The hatred of the owl came from replaying the game.
Yeah, because you're mashing through when you replay it, and then it's like, "Boop. Oh, you didn't get it. You said no.
Fuck.
There he is again, over there."
Don't need lore. I need lore. That's what Penny's here for.
Yeah.
The lore. Look at the pretty colors. It's turning
The
sunset.
day and night cycle that's just slightly too fast to make it all the way to Hyrule Castle. Before nighttime, anyway.
Dog sound.
Wolf howl.
I feel like this game is what everybody bases their like indie retro horror games off of.
Man, I am so tired.
With the 2D
The
background.
night watch is so boring. I wish some ghosts would come out or something. Hey, I'm really interested in ghosts. Studying them is a hobby of mine. But you never know. The time might come when that kind of knowledge might be useful.
Everyone needs a hobby. It's a scooter.
There's a scooter in there. I destroyed a gold skull blob.
You destroyed a bit.
I have a will be able. Margarine's mask.
I feel like we need to call him Margarine
Yeah.
when we get
Kids
there.
shouldn't be wandering around town at nighttime. Stay indoors until morning. That's the guard voice now.
When we play Majora's Mask, you guys gotta remind me to name him Margarine.
Margarine's mask, yeah. As long as it's nighttime, I may as well do the nighttime stuff. Like returning Richard to the lady.
I can't believe he's not butter. Now is not the time.
Richard! This is my little Richard. Thank you. Thank you. I'll give this to you as a reward. It's a piece of art.
Nice.
Yeah, little Richard.
I feel like there's a reference I'm not understanding
There's
there.
little Richard is a guy.
Ah,
I don't remember what he
I
does.
assumed that much.
Oh, you are so handsome.
Just like the King of Hyrule. Hey, your clothes, they're different. You're not from around here, are you?
I can only do 2 voices.
Oh, you're a fairy boy from the forest. My name is Malon. My dad owns Lon Lon Ranch.
I should do a southern accent.
My name's Malon. My dad owns Lon Lon Ranch. Dad went to the castle to deliver some milk. He hasn't come back yet.
His name's Lasagna.
His name's Lasagna. Hey, Lasagna, this way.
Why is your head backwards?
The princess is inside the castle. Just ahead. Be careful not to get caught by the guards. Ho, 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 ho.
Why is his head upside
On
down?
this ground, time flows normally. But time stands still while you are in Lon Lon Ranch or into town. If you want time to pass normally, you'll need to leave town. Well, well, which way are you going to go now? Ho, ho, hoot! You want to hear what I said again?
It switches.
You're a smart kid. Good luck then. Woo-hoo.
They're really just trying to trip you up.
Yep, I was trying to trick you. I just like talking. Goodbye. Like I said, I know where like all these guys are.
You don't have to find all of them.
No, but I'm gonna pick them up anyway because you get rewards for killing them.
Mm.
There's bugs.
There's bugs.
I think the bugs are pretty cute, honestly. I don't have a bottle to put them in though, so they're just gonna dig, 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 dig. Sorry, I can't really proceed without like I can't really move forward until it's daytime, so we're gonna just wander around until it's day.
Pretty.
Watch the sunrise.
So pretty.
This would be a good PC background, actually.
Ooh, yeah. That would be good. Except it's not the right aspect ratio.
Well, sure.
You'd have to, like, crop it in.
This is normally what you experience when you come in here for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
It's this like happy little town theme.
Luke is 16? I don't know why I thought Luke was older than me. I just
So we
assume
got
everyone's
a
older than me.
bazaar here, we got a potion shop, and neither of these places are useful yet. Or at all. The potion shop is basically useless the entire time. There's also the Happy Mask shop, but it's not open yet. Oh wait, yes it is. No, it isn't. What a strange shop. Wonder when it'll be open for business. I read the sign there, but it still seems weird. Please read this sign before you use this shop. We do not sell masks in this shop, we just lend them to you. You sell the loaned masks on your own. You pay back the money for the mask, and we will lend you a newer model. You can borrow masks you've already sold again. However, you can sell each model of mask only once. Please try our shop.
Interesting.
Alright, so before we move on, there's a minigame.
No,
You
it'd be
gotta
pretty
do it.
weird if Kenj was Penny's parent.
You want to play a game? It's 20 rupees per play. Okay, this is a game for grown-ups. Hyrule's famous shooting gallery. He wasn't originally supposed to be this, Patrick Warburton, but now he is. Take aim at the targets from that platform over there. Can you hit 10 targets? You get 15 shots. Draw your weapon with B. You ready? Go for a perfect score. Good luck. Alright, let's see if I can get a perfect score on the
Look
first
at those
try.
particles.
Those particles are just a bunch of smaller rupees.
It looks good though. Looks fancy. Remember,
I'm like so tense right now trying to get this to perfect score on my first try. Oh, thank God I'm still a gamer.
she's a gamer.
Wonderful! Bravo! Perfect! Here's a fantastic present.
She's such a
I
gamer.
got a Decoracy bullet bag.
I can give her a little kiss on the head.
Now. Oh, thank you. I'm so small.
Small.
Anyway.
I think in canon you are still taller than me though. In the
Are
lore.
you going to the castle, fair boy? Would you mind finding my dad? He must have fallen asleep somewhere around the castle. What a thing for an adult to do. Oh yeah, if you look for him, I'll give this to you. I've been incubating this egg very carefully.
Egg.
We got a weird egg. Feels like there's something moving inside. Set it to see. Let's see what happens.
It's a horse.
On the selection. My phone just hatches from it.
Horse egg.
Set the egg to seed, incubate it. Blah 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 blah. I'm not paying attention to what she's saying.
My dad might be in trouble.
My dad's a lazy ass piece of shit.
But I love him anyway.
I love him anyway. I'll put this egg on the C button.
Egg.
Speaking of showing off, I'm also going to show off how to not get caught by the guards.
Okay, do it. Wow.
Walk slightly around them.
Oh my god. I can't tell if that's like how you're supposed to do
It is.
Ah, Skyrim, how I love you so. But think how long we could have enjoyed Jack struggling.
Yeah.
Not that long.
We could have had an entire session of just this upcoming stealth section.
Oh god. Yeah, it's a good thing I'm not doing this.
Mandatory stealth section. There's a secret grotto here, but you can't open it unless you have the Song of Storms. Bonk. I was hoping there were rupees in there.
I'm sorry for your loss of rupees. Is that her dad?
Yep. Welcome. Alright, it's so fun. No, look around.
Well, I found your dad.
Alright, now I have to wait an entire day-night cycle.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, well, normally you wouldn't get to the castle so fast, so it'd be daytime when you got in there. You'd have to spend a night outside, basically.
Well, it's still daytime.
Well, I know, but you have to spend an entire night outside, and then it would be daytime, and then it would be night when you got here, and then you just wait until day again. But we're gonna, you know...
What?
You need to have you have to wait until the next morning after you get the weird egg.
Ah, okay.
So... maybe there's...
Luke is in the UK, so the time difference might be something.
I'm a scat man.
If only there were a song to speed up time.
There is. I don't have it.
Wait, you're 16 in college? How smart are you? Smarter than me, probably.
See, I can play it, but I can't play it. Also, if I'm playing my Ocarina, time stops, so...
Yeah.
We're just gonna do this until...
He's a
daytime.
British youth. Those are dangerous, I hear.
All I can do is get this puzzle as close to being solved as I possibly can. You can actually make that jump with a series of glitches.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Which is used in speedrunning to avoid this,
I don't
this.
know. I don't know how college works in the UK, so maybe 16 is not.
I don't know how college works.
Well, yeah. I'm an introverted British youth, which makes me utterly harmless. Nah,
Maybe
introverts.
there's more rupees in the water though, while we're just sitting around waiting for the day-night cycle to show up.
Introverts have a lot of time on their hands. They
Too much time on my hands.
they're the true masterminds. I would know. I'm an introvert. You know what I do with my time? Play Pokemon.
Yeah, pretty much.
Instead of literally anything productive.
Can confirm. Look, a chicken hatched from the egg you were incubating. It's the miracle of life. Anyway. What in tarnation? Can't a person get a little shut-eye around here? Hello, who might you be? Yep, I'm Talon, the owner of Lon Lon Ranch.
Malin and Talon?
Yeah.
Nice.
I went to the castle to deliver some milk, but I sat down here to rest, and I guess I fell asleep. Also, look at his thing. He's got a Bowser badge.
Oh, he does. That's cool.
What?
You could just
Malon was looking for me. Oh, I'm gonna catch it from her now. I messed up bad leaving Malon behind to wait for me. She's really gonna let me have it.
Where's her mom?
Dead.
Oh. So she's responsible for him? He's parentified his own child?
Yeah, he's a bad father.
That sucks. Sorry, Malon.
He's a responsible young lady. And also one of 3 people that, in this game that, people ship with Link.
Mm-hmm. We separate your equivalent of high school into high school and college. Oh, okay. Oh, right. So you guys have college and then, like...
University.
And then university is our college. Our British son is doing so well.
Anyway, this is the mandatory stealth section.
Lovely. This little shuffle. Yeah, a little bit of culture. Kinda.
The only culture I know is yogurt.
You're doing this math, physics, and space engineering. You are smart.
Maths. More than
Maths.
one? More than one math?
More than one math.
See, that's the difference between the UK and the US, is that in the US we only have one math. In the UK they have multiple maths. There's secret bonus math. Oh, that guy disappeared.
What are you hanging out with us for? We're smart, just not on stream. We're stupid off stream
See?
too. But,
I'm smart. I got through the whole stealth section without getting caught even once.
Is that smart or is that memory?
Yes. Speaking of memory, you want to see some cool things?
Yeah.
Hey you! Don't cause any trouble!
Look at him just bomb.
He throws a bomb at you.
Oh shit!
Also,
This is Princess Peach?
yeah, and
oh my
Mario and
God.
Yoshi.
That's so cute!
And 20 Rubus.
Nice. I like the little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Who are you? How did you get past the guards? Oh, what's that? Is that a fairy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then are you from the forest? Then you wouldn't happen to have the spiritual stone of the forest, would you? That green and shining stone? you have it. Just as I thought. I had a dream. In the dream, dark storm clouds were billowing over the land of Hyrule. But suddenly, a ray of light shot out of the forest, parted the clouds, and lit up the ground. The light turned into a figure holding a green and shining stone, followed by a fairy. I know this is a prophecy that someone would come from the forest. Yes, I thought you might be the one. Oh, I'm sorry. I got carried away with my story and didn't even properly introduce myself. I am Zelda, Princess of Hyrule.
Grounded as in touch the ground.
What is your name? Lasagna. Fucking really? Okay. Strange. Sounds somehow familiar. Like an Italian dish I ate one time. Okay then, Lasagna. I'm going to tell you the secret of the sacred realm that has been passed down by the royal family of Hyrule. Please keep this secret from everyone.
Okay.
No.
The legend goes like this. The three goddesses hid the Triforce containing the power of the gods somewhere in Hyrule. The power to grant the wish of the one who holds the Triforce in his hands. If someone with a righteous heart makes a wish, it will lead Hyrule to a golden age of prosperity. If someone with an evil mind has his wish granted, the world will be consumed by evil. That is what has been told. So, the ancient sages built the Temple of Time to protect the Triforce from evil ones. That's right. The Temple of Time is the entrance through which you can enter the sacred realm from our world. But the entrance is sealed with a stone wall called the Door of Time. And in order to open the door, it is said that you need to collect 3 spiritual stones. And another thing you need is the treasure that the royal family keeps along with this legend. The Ocarina of Time.
Credits.
This is the thing.
Did you understand well the story I just told you?
Yeah.
That's great! I forgot to tell you. I was spying through this window just now. The other element from my dream, the dark clouds, I believe they symbolize that man in there. Will you look through the window at him?
Yeah. Let me see.
Can you see the man with the evil eyes? That is Ganondorf, the leader of the Gerudos. They hail from the desert far to the west. Though he swears allegiance to my father, I'm sure he is not sincere. Dark clouds that covered Hyrule in my dream, they must symbolize that man.
Ugh.
What happened? Did he see you? Don't worry. He doesn't have any idea what we're planning. Yet. Yes. I told my father about my dream. However, he didn't believe it was a prophecy. But I can sense that man's evil intentions. What Ganondorf is after must be nothing less than the Triforce of the Sacred Realm.
She's really cute.
She's really cute.
He must have come to Hyrule to obtain it. And he wants to conquer Hyrule. No, the entire world. Lasagna, now we are the only ones who can protect Hyrule. I was kind of hoping you would be something other than lasagna. Please, thank you.
She's so cute.
I'm afraid. I have a feeling that man is going to destroy Hyrule. He has such terrifying power. But it's fortunate that you have come. We must not let Ganondorf get the Triforce. I'll protect the Ocarina of Time with all my power. He shall not have it. You go find the other 2 spiritual stones. Let's get the Triforce before Ganondorf does, and then defeat him. One more thing. this letter. I'm sure it will be helpful to you.
I like how we've never met before.
You received Zelda's letter. Wow, this is Zelda's autograph. Set it to C and show it was C. On the select item subscreen, you can set it to blip, bloop, or blip, and then use that C to show it to people.
Lasagna just like
Yeah,
just sniffing it. Hello.
I am Impa of the Sheikahs. I am responsible for protecting Princess Zelda. Everything is exactly as the princess foretold. You are a courageous boy. You're heading out on a big new adventure, aren't you? My role in the princess's dream was to teach a melody to the one from the forest. This is an ancient melody passed down by the royal family. I have played this song for Princess Zelda as a lullaby ever since she was a baby. There's a mysterious power in these notes. Now listen carefully. How does she do that with her mouth?
Whistling. Baby. Lasagna can't whistle.
But he can play the ocarina.
Yeah.
You've learned Zelda's lullaby.
It's his one weakness.
If the castle soldiers find you, there will be trouble. Let me lead you out of the castle.
Yeah. Lasagna's one weakness is that he can't whistle.
Yeah. And also that his name is Lasagna.
Also, his name is
You
Lasagna.
brave lad. We must protect this beautiful land of Hyrule. Take a good look at that mountain. That is Death Mountain, home of the Gorons. They hold the spiritual stone of fire. At the foot of Death Mountain, you will find my village, Kakariko. That is where I was born and raised. You should talk to some of the villagers there before you go up Death Mountain. The song I just taught you has some mysterious power. Only royal family members are allowed to learn this song. Remember, it will help to prove your connection with the royal family. The princess is waiting for you to return to the castle with stones. All right, we're counting on you.
Okay. Oh. Bye.
She's a fucking ninja.
Okay.
He's Impa of the Sheikah. Okay, but before we do that, there's important shit to do.
The map looks like a face.
Yeah.
Got like a big circle eye and then a closed winky eye.
And then a little smiley, yeah.
Yeah. They can't see the map.
Well, they can, it's just my head is blocking it.
It's fine.
Also, if you've ever played this game before, which most of you have, you know that Hyrule Field looks like the fucking Forever Alone guy from the Rage comics. We're going to Lon Lon Ranch first. There's two important things to do in Lon Lon Ranch.
Horse.
The first is horse. The second is chickens.
Horse egg.
Horse egg? The first is horse egg. The second is chicken. There's also some gold skulltulas here, but only at night. Except for this one. That one's always there.
Ah, you got hit.
That's fine. Haunts.
Hans. Do we get to name the haunts, or is she only...
She's always Epona.
Always Epona, okay.
There she is, little pony.
Oh, it's the fairy boy again. I heard that you found my dad. How'd you like the castle? Did you see the princess? Dad came home in a hurry after you found him. Oh yeah, I have to introduce you to my friend, fairy boy. See this horse? Her name is Epona. Isn't she cute?
Yes.
She's scared. Don't do people.
Seems like Epona's afraid of you, fairy boy.
I know that I can...
My mother composed a song. It's a nice, let's sing together.
Oh, right, you have to...
Oh, cute ocarina. You're gonna play this song with that ocarina? Okay, this is the song.
Cute.
Why did you give her the voice of Michael Jackson?
What?
Learned Epona's song. Now Epona will trust you. And also, cows.
Chose as a child to give her the voice of Michael Jackson.
I see.
Shimona.
Alright, there's a very important thing when there's actually one more very important thing we need to do here.
Hmm.
And it's go visit the cows in the cow house.
Cows!
So there's a hole in the floor over here. But we don't need to go in there because that's just a bunch of Decker scrubs. What we do need to do is go in there. I don't know what that is called, but you know, it's
Silo?
a fucking building. A silo?
Is it a silo? I don't know.
Not really, no. It's just some kind of random ass farm building.
Random ass farm building! Yay!
Anyway, there's cows in here.
Cows.
And there's milk in here. But not like milk, like, you know.
No, milk's not here.
Milk's not here, but there is milk. Don't worry about any of this. Don't worry about it. See, I solved it.
Uh-huh. Ow.
What? There's a piece of heart in here.
I can't. Yeah, how do you see anything?
I don't. I'm just going on instinct.
Muscle memory.
Yeah, I just know what's there already, so like... Okay, there's one more thing we gotta do here, and that's chickens.
Chicken!
Gotta roll.
Roll.
Sorry, this is faster.
Actually.
It actually is one of the fastest ways to move that isn't glitched.
Wow.
See how fast I'm going?
You're really zooming.
Fucking zooming.
Fucking zooming. Got the schmovement.
Yeah, schmoving.
Moving.
Got that schmovement tack.
Man, he's asleep again.
I'm awake already. What? Well, I'll be. I ain't the forest kid from the other day. By the way, thanks a lot for waking me up. It took some doing, but I finally got Malum back in a good mood. So, what are you up to today? Got some free time on your hands, you say? Well, how about a little game?
I don't really.
These 3 cuckoos here I have are special super cuckoos. I'm gonna throw these cuckoos into that there gaggle of normal cuckoos. You can pick out these 3 special birds from among the normal cuckoos within time limit. I'll give you something good. If you can't find them, I win. Give me 10 rupees. Wanna play?
Yeah.
Yeah, 30 seconds. Alrighty then, get ready. Here go the super cuckoos.
I think
Start looking.
Malon's dad has narcolepsy.
I think he does, yeah. That's one of them. Keep it up.
How can you tell?
You cannot.
Just pick them up until you find it.
Yep. You try to pay attention to where they launched to. Oh, I'll be darned. It's plumb incredible. That's the last one. You found them all. Come on over here.
Playing it for real? There's a way to cheat it?
I'm sure there's a way to cheat it. Hey, you've got the talent to be one of the world's best cowboys. How'd you like to marry Malon, huh?
Yeah, okay.
I was just kidding. Just kidding. I think you're a little young for that, aren't you?
I'll fucking kill you.
Oh, always corral the regulars before you start the minigame. Yeah, that's a way to do it. Oh, I'm proud to present to you a sample of our very own Lon Lon milk. You'll be energized the moment you drink it. After you drink it, you can bring back the bottle and buy a refill anytime you want.
Cool. Got some milk.
More importantly, we got a bottle.
Oh, yeah.
I want to show you some cute little Easter eggs. So up here, not only can you break some jars to get
Gotta get Rubus.
Up here in this version?
Hmm?
Oh, it's only in the 3DS version.
Ah.
In the 3DS version, you can find little models of Zelda and Ganondorf's horses.
Ah. That's cool. Yeah, must have been an Easter egg they added.
Yeah. Anyway, now we're off to Kakariko, because as far as I can tell, there's nothing else to do outside of Kakariko. There's quite a bit to do in Kakariko, especially if we can get there just as night falls, which we will not.
Get this movement. Lasagna got milk.
Not that it matters too much. Dampé's grave digging tour is fucking lame anyway. Welcome to Kakariko at night. We'll come back during the day when there's more hustle and bustle, but for now, I got Skeletoulas and we can talk to this sad guy.
Oh.
People are disgusting. My own father and mother are disgusting. You must be disgusting too.
What? Why?
He's depressed.
What happened, buddy?
He's got depression.
Aw.
He's a sad guy with depression.
Okay. I don't know why he thinks everybody's disgusting. Maybe he's Ace.
Yeah. No.
He's Ace and everyone keeps making sex jokes.
Yeah.
Story of my life.
Yeah. Lasagna got milk. It's true.
Yeah. Carry him around in your pocket. He's small.
Yeah. He's a little pencil.
He's a little pencil.
What voice did I give the guards?
I don't know.
The road is closed beyond this point. Can't you read the sign over there?
Huh? Oh, I see. You're just a kid. And you can't read yet.
Wow! I can read just fine.
Oh, this is surely Princess Zelda's handwriting. Well, let's see. Okay. This is Lasagna. This is Lasagna. He's under my orders to save Hyrule. What kind of funny game has our princess come up with now? Okay, all right. You can go now. Just be careful, Mr. Hero.
Asshole. Don't laugh at children.
I'll laugh at 10,000 children before I let this company die.
By the way, Mr. Hero, if you're going to climb Death Mountain, you should equip a proper shield. It's an active volcano after all. If you go back to Hyrule Castle Town Market, you should check out the bazaar. They sell the shield you need there. Tell them I sent you, and they should give you a special discount.
That's why we talked to that guy first.
If you think you're good to go already, don't worry about it. Now, I'd like to ask a favor of you. No, I don't expect you to do it just because of the great tip I just gave you. I'm just asking. Have you been to the Happy Mask shop that just opened in the Hyrule Castle Town Market? Everyone is talking about it. My little boy pesters me for a popular mask, but I don't have time to go there. So, could you go and get the mask for me next time you're in the market? If you don't feel like it, that's okay, but
Well, I have no choice. This is my job.
Poor guy.
Just this person. Is it a guy or a girl?
Boy. What's that? Oh, it's a skull. Gold token thing.
Hey, want to see something cool?
Yeah. Oh, hi. What's up?
Hey, good to see you again. I'll give you this as a memento.
Again? Have we met this guy?
No. But
What?
you're not supposed to get up here until you have the hook shot.
Ah. I see.
But there's a hole.
The bottom of the sea?
Yeah. It's got 20 rubies in it. Here, as long as you have enough rubies. I'm not a hacker. I've just got sick gamer skills.
Yeah, she's just a gamer. She's a gamer girl.
I'm a gamer girl. Just gamer girl? Oh no, you misheard me. I'm a gamer girl. Drowns you and steals your wife.
You're that too.
Yeah. I used to be. Before the dysphoria. I used to go swimming a lot.
Oh, yeah, same.
And then dysphoria happened.
Oh, I should show you. There's some really cute swimsuits I think you would like.
Ooh.
That I found the other day.
I gotta kill another. Name 3 games. Okay, Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap, and Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword.
You're just trying to remember the ones we played?
Yeah. Hey, you want to see the most horrifying thing in the world? Yeah, you do.
No.
You're gonna hate this.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh.
We look like this because of the spider's curse, but since you've destroyed 11 spiders of the curse is starting to weaken. Did the kids who return to normal give you any rewards? You should know that the only way to become very rich is to destroy as many spiders of the curse as possible. There are some tricks to finding them all. First of all, you'll have to hunt at night. Secondly, keep in mind that they love soft soil. Pay close attention to your surroundings. Please, we're counting on you. Want to make it even more horrifying? Yeah, you do. Sorry.
Why would you do that?
Do you make you hear the noise? The curse has been broken! Thank you! Here's a reward for you! It's a big wallet.
Okay. Adults are allowed to carry a lot of money.
Now you can hold up to 200 rubies. This is how you get big wallets.
Cool.
I haven't seen Demon
What
Slayer,
the
so...
fuck?
So yeah, that's what the Skulltula quest is all about.
What the fuck?
Yeah, no, it's pretty much it, yeah. What the fuck is a good approximation.
What the fuck?
What the fuck? Yeah.
That's horrifying!
Yeah! It's not even the most horrifying thing in this game.
You played this game when you were 3?
Yeah, but I didn't get this far.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, I only got to like the...
How old were you when you saw that for the first time?
Too young.
Too young.
And yet...
I'm too young to see that. I'm Black.
Blackfoot!
Black.
I'm playing.
Penny's playing.
Jack didn't want to do it, so I'm playing.
No, it's winter time. I'm hibernating. Cover
Also,
your eyes.
There's a free shield here, so you don't have to buy it at all.
If I witnessed redeads when I was 3, I would never have played Zelda again.
Oh yeah, same. No. I was afraid of Earthworm Jim 3D when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's fucking Skulltula guy.
Yeah.
Horrifying.
Well, you're gonna hate this.
Wait, what are we doing?
Going to Red Dead Town.
Oh.
I went to the graveyard to blow up this grave.
Wow. You weren't kidding.
Nope, I wasn't joking. That's a royal family's grave.
Why did it blow up?
Because I played the song.
Why would it do that? What?
You play the song and it blows up. That's just how it works.
Okay.
That's geese.
Keith.
A little geese. Mwah.
Mwah. No Keith.
Alright, there you go.
Look at that real ass skeleton in the corner.
Oh yeah, there's real skeletons in here. There's some straight up dead people. This game is actually horrifying.
Like, there's
Like,
bones
this is
and stuff,
actually a horror game.
but like the realistic skeleton is weirding me out.
Oh, that guy? Yeah.
Hello?
Those who break into the royal tomb will be obstructed by the lurkers in the dark.
I didn't break into anything. I played a song that the princess gave me and then it exploded. I guess technically I did break it.
Those guys.
Oh.
Hello, Redeads.
I don't like them.
Me neither.
It's a good thing we don't play these games at night.
Yep. Lucky for me, I know how to sneak up on them.
Yeah.
So you don't have to hear their horrifying voices. Anyway, time for me to intentionally get caught by one.
That guy's in the soup.
He is in the soup. He's so in the soup, he's not even...
into a Slim Jim.
He's not even yelling at me, he's too in the soup.
He's lost in the sauce. Is that a split pea soup?
Yeah, delicious split pea poison soup.
Mmm.
Sorry, what was the last part? Split pea.
Split pea soup.
Anyway, this is the reason we came in here. This poem is dedicated to the memory of the dearly departed members of the royal family. A rising sun will eventually set, a newborn's life will fade. From sun to moon, moon to sun, give peaceful rest to the living dead. This is an interesting poem, huh? Something is inscribed on the tombstone. Oh, is this Navi reading it?
I think so.
Something's inscribed on the tombstone. It's the secret melody of the Composer Brothers.
Navi's text is usually blue, so...
Yeah. Ah, you fucked it up.
Fucking not real N64 controller.
Would it be better to swap it to the D-pad?
No.
Okay.
No, it would not. Now we can change the time of day.
Yay! Soup for my undead family. It just makes me think of like you're in a D&D
Restless
dungeon.
souls wander where they don't belong. Bring them calm, the sun song.
You're in like a D&D dungeon and you like go into the next room after just fighting a bunch of undead. And you open the door and they're just sitting at a table having some soup.
Yeah. So this is something you can do to deal with redads. If you play the sun song, it stuns them.
Hmm.
Only temporarily, but it's long enough to book it past them. Or start attacking.
Cool.
Once I have a source of fire, I can come back here for another chest.
I was still thinking about the realistic skeleton.
The stun song, yeah.
The stun song.
Yeah, realistic skeleton. That's just Skeleton George. Don't worry about him.
Yeah. It's just funny. It's like the rest of the game is like fairly cartoony. Like it's semi-real. That guy is
Hold
just
on, I gotta
very
drink
real.
milk.
Oh yeah, drink milk. Wow, that's not what that bottle looks like at all. Now you have a bottle.
It's pointy. Pointy bottle.
It's a very pointy bottle.
They hadn't invented curves yet.
They just didn't want to waste the polygons on them. You gotta be faster.
What should I do? My cuckoos have all flown away. You, little boy, please help me bring them back to this pen.
Okay. Yoink.
She'd do it herself, but she's allergic to cuckoos.
Is she?
Yeah, despite being a cuckoo rancher. Yeah, this is canon.
Can't be fast. Not with these thumbs. I'm sorry about your thumbs, Kenj.
Come here, chicken.
I've been bonked.
Oh no, a bonk.
A stretch, thank you.
Flying chicken. I may be doing side quests.
That's fine.
I figure with me playing, we have enough time for some
Yeah,
side quests.
we have plenty of time for side quests with you playing. Deliciously observant part
We've
of
still got
breakfast.
We've still got like a whole ass cuckoos. God damn it. The observation chair.
What? Oh.
Cuckoos. They're cuckoos.
Why are my eyebrows so anky?
I don't know. Because you're squinting.
I'm not.
You are, though. You're squinting. Squintin' Tarantino. That's your name. You're Squintin' Tarantino.
And now you guys know what I sound like when I'm talking to my D&D group.
Yeah. It's exactly like this.
Oh.
Oh. Oh, you know what? Batch.
I know.
Fuck you!
It's just $300. It's just $300 fucking dollars. Let's get 'em.
From wrestling. These shoes are $300 fucking dollars. I already talked to Roof Guy. Anyway, it's time for 6 speedrun strats.
Do it.
Speedrun.
Hang on the fence.
Yeah.
Speedrun.
Speedrun.
Go.
Chicken. Chicken speedrun.
Chicken speedrun. See ya, Ham.
Bye-bye.
Good morning, Moxie. Penny is playing because I'm in winter hibernation mode and I didn't feel like gaming.
Yeah.
My brain only has room for Pokemon currently.
My brain always has room for The Legend of Zelda. Ocarina of Dude.
Chim, and I cannot stress this enough, Kin.
Yep. We're Chimkin wrestling.
That's your wife.
Chimkin wrangling. Yep. It's my beautiful wife. My cuckoos have run away. Please help me bring the last one back to... Oh, there's only one more. Okay.
One more.
I don't know where the last one is.
Gotta find it.
I gotta find that last Chimkin. I'm aware of this fact. Yeah, me and my wife aren't married yet. If I go inside anywhere, all the chickens are gonna run away again. But I need to,
Hey, the depressed guy's not there.
Nope, it's this angry carpenter. I am
Well,
the
we're
boss of the
looking right up
carpenters,
his
and am
pants.
hired to improve this village and make it into a true city. Well, young men these days don't have any ambition. Don't you know what I mean, kid? My workers are just running aimlessly around the village, and they're not making any progress at all. Even my own son doesn't have a job, and he just wanders around all day. They're all worthless, I tell ya. Whatever you say, Tiger Pants.
Right now, we're only legally tied for our mutual commitment to the bit.
It's true. I found the last chicken.
Yay! Chicken!
Chimkin, 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 chimkin,
Chimkin, chimkin, chimkin, chimkin, chimkin.
Chimkin.
I'm hungry.
I'm hungry too. Thank you for finding my cuckoos. I have allergies, so I get goosebumps when I touch them. For helping me, I'll give this to you. It's fine glass and should be useful. Please take good care of it.
A bottle.
It's a bottle.
See, that bottle's flat.
Yeah, but that bottle is the high-res bottle model that they use for the model bottle.
Bottle model. Bottle model.
Just, hey,
Chicken bumps.
Hey, Anju. What the fuck is a goose?
What the fuck is a goose?
Jumps.
Chicken bumps.
Yeah,
Chumps.
chicken bumps.
I need these bugs.
Bugs. Now the bottle's blue with bug.
Yeah. Blue bug bottle.
Blue bug bottle.
Hey, anyway, you want to know how to get infinite money?
Okay. Bugs.
Bugs.
It's really funny that the bottle turns blue when there's bugs in it.
Yeah. So, I'm not going to do it right now because it could take forever, but
Yeah.
there's a lady back in Castletown who, yeah, you're never alone. There's bugs. There's a lady back in Castletown who will buy stuff from you that you have in bottles. And one of the things she will buy from you is bottle bugs.
Mm.
She'll buy them for 50 rupees. So if you have also...
Don't we need to go back and get the shield?
No, I have the shield. I got it from the grave. I got a free shield from the graves.
Oh, okay.
I was just doing some grave robbing. That was one of the reasons I was at the graves. I know you weren't, like, able to pay attention physically because of the way your brain is.
Yeah.
But, you know.
My brain sucks. Sorry.
Those are Tektites.
That looks like a crab.
It's Tektite.
It's a crab. Getting a bottle is so hype in Zelda games, but could you imagine if someone gave you an empty bottle as a reward IRL?
I would fucking love that.
That's for your labor. Can you take care of my recycling too? Bottle.
But it's like a fine glass bottle. It's not just like any bottle, you know?
Yeah. It's a cool bottle.
It's a cool bottle.
As an autism, I love a cool bottle.
I used to collect bottles, and then we moved, and I didn't have anywhere else to put them anymore. So now there's just a bunch of, like, random-ass bottles everywhere.
Sounds like we should make some dice potions. Right?
For noises.
We should make some dice potions.
Yeah. Hey,
With all of your bottles. Huh? Bomb.
So, normally what you're supposed to do... I can't pick that up yet. So normally what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to, like... you're supposed to, like, plant a bean and then go to the future and the bean will be grown. But no, you can just jump over the fence.
Oh, okay.
Get that piece of heart early.
It's literally the same type of bottle everyone has in the world. Because everyone gives you the same fucking bottle.
Yep. You can get, 4 of them, I think.
Nice.
4 or 5.
Looks like 4.
Yeah, 4. Technically, you can get infinite numbers of bottles.
Oh, yeah?
You can get as many bottles as you want because you can, through glitching, you can convert any item into a bottle. You can also play any item like an ocarina.
What?
Yeah. So there's a glitch that lets you play whatever you happen to be holding in your hand as an ocarina, including your sword.
Can you play the bug bottle?
You can play the bug bottle. This is actually used in a speedrun called Weed Percent.
Weed percent? Okay.
And the goal is you have to light a stick and let it burn out while playing it like an ocarina. So you just chuffing
Okay.
back a fat dart.
Got it.
Hey! It's dangerous for a little kid like you to come out here. You might fall down.
You can play your sword like the goddamn Green Ranger.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, you came here to eat the red stone. Well, too bad. It's not here. What? That's not why you're here? You're looking for a spiritual stone? You must mean that delicious-looking red stone that was once displayed here. I was so hungry that I thought it would be okay to just give it one tiny little lick, so I snuck out here, but it was already gone. I think Big Brother took it away. He always says that everyone is after that red stone. Big Brother has shut himself up in his room saying, I will wait in here for the royal family's messenger.
Well, that's me. Children are immune to fall damage. Children are not immune to fall damage. And their defense, it does
I love
look
the Goron
delicious.
music. What the heck? Who are you? When I heard the song of the royal family, I expected their messenger had arrived. But you're just a little kid.
I'm the messenger.
As Darunya, the big boss of the Gorons, really lost so much status to be treated like this by his sworn brother, the king. Now I'm really angry. Get out of my face, now!
Nope.
Are you asking why I'm in such a bad mood right now?
Yes.
Ancient creatures have infested the Dodongo's cavern. We've had a poor harvest of our special crop, the bomb flowers. Starvation and hunger because of the rock shortage. But this is a Goron problem. We don't need any help from strangers.
I think you do.
I think you do.
I think you do. I think you need help from me.
Yeah. Sure, children are immune to fall damage. Why else would I have invested in these child shoes for new and improved skydiving? You wouldn't be able to fit in child shoes. I think I could technically fit into child shoes, like large child shoes.
You were a large child.
Yeah. Except
Born
child
ass
shoes
Goron.
are like made differently.
Oh, shoes made of children. Okay, no.
Oh,
Yes, I'm the fool for not assuming that you automatically meant shoes made from children. Clearly, I'm the fool.
clearly I'm in the wrong. That's how Portal's long fall boots are made. I would
You know
not
what?
be
I wouldn't doubt it.
surprised.
Rotating.
You sure are. How'd you do that?
Spinning.
Is he always spinning, or did you do something to make him spinning?
Well, when I activated the jar here,
Yeah.
he tried to look at it, but it was rotating, so he just spun around. Oh? We don't get many visitors way up here. Where are you from? The forest? What's a forest? Eh? It's where a lot of trees and plants grow? Now I'm even more confused. Nothing grows around here besides the balm flowers. We don't have seeds or nuts around here either. Even Deku sticks are very scarce around here. I know a trick to conserve sticks. If you light a stick on fire, it will burn to ashes. Press the A button to put it away before it completely burns. By the way, I hit a stick somewhere.
Is it up his butt?
No, I already found it.
Oh, okay. I thought it would be up his butt,
It
the
was
way
not,
he's laughing
in
at
fact,
it like
up his
that.
butt.
The way he was laughing like that, I don't know. It sounded like he put it up his butt.
He may have put it up his butt at some point. It's a good thing I'm burning it.
Burn it to the ground.
Burn to the ground, burn, 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 burn to the ground, burn to the burn to the burn to the burn to the burn, burn to the ground, burn to the burn. Hope you like shortcuts, because I do.
Yeah. Shortcuts are great.
Shortcut to the Lost Woods.
Oh.
What voice did I give him? Hey,
Yeah.
over here! Lasagna, good to see you again. Listen to this. Hoot hoot. After going through the Lost Woods, you will come upon the Sacred Forest Meadow. That is a sacred place where few people have ever walked. Shh, what's that? I can hear a mysterious tune. You should listen for that tune too. Hoo hoo ho! Do you want to hear what I said again?
No.
If you are courageous, you will make it through the forest just fine. Just follow your ears and listen to the sounds coming from the forest. Hoot hoot.
I don't need to. I now have the whole forest memorized.
Nice.
Got it memorized. But first, I'm gonna walk out of the forest. Never mind.
Nope. You sure you've memorized it?
Yes. Just not backwards. Yes.
I love
His name is Lasagna.
I love when people
Cool,
come in
you're
here.
great. You scored 3 perfect bullseyes. I have to give a neat present to such a wonderful person. Please take it.
I love when people come in here and discover his name.
His name is Lasagna.
Yeah.
Yay, now I can hold 50 bullets. Also, I don't want to do that. There's a Simon Says game down there, but I don't want to do it. Walking around in circles for a second. I forgot what I was doing.
When the ADHD kicks in.
Yep.
You need to swap your shield.
No,
Oh.
not yet. Not until there's fire.
Bugs. Dump out the bugs.
Make 1 bug into 3 bugs. Neat present.
Big bug.
They said Skulltulas love soft soil. So anytime you see one of those little bean patches, you can dump some bugs in it and it'll spit out a Skulltula.
Bugs.
Out that way.
Sun
Jamming.
is like right in my eyes.
I'm jamming too. You can't tell, but I'm jamming.
Jam for the both of us.
Jack has to jam double so that we're all jamming.
So when I do that, there's like a little crack in my curtains. The sun goes right in my fucking eyes.
Yep.
Took my fucking eyes.
Took my eyes in the divorce.
Puppy.
Puppy.
That sound is so sad. I hate hurt dog noise.
Yep.
It's my least favorite sound.
Some of the Deku Scrubs are cool. Those ones are jerks.
Someone's going positively apeshit on the tambourine. Assholes. It's because the Deku tree died, isn't it?
Probably. I'm playing the control stick.
It is coming through.
I've been waiting for you, Lasagna.
Oh, hi.
This is the Sacred Forest Meadow. It's my secret place. I feel this place will be very important for both of us someday. That's what I feel. If you play the ocarina here, you can talk with the spirits in the forest. Would you like to play the ocarina with me?
Yeah,
Don't do it.
don't do it. No! No!
Okay, try to follow along with
No.
the melody. I will play. Are you ready?
I wonder what came first, the soundtrack or the ocarina?
Fuck.
You fucked it up. I least we're not trying to do this on my drifting ass.
Right, you're drifting ass
Joy-Cons.
Joy-Cons. It's just playing. Great, great. Please don't forget this song. Do you promise?
What came first, the horse or the egg?
Horse egg.
Horse egg.
Need to feed me horse
Oh
eggs.
God, sometimes
When you want to hear my voice, play Saria's song. You can talk with me anytime.
I love when I say something stupid once and it just becomes a bit for the entire stream.
Horse eggs.
Oh.
You
Who let
learned
me talk?
Saria's song. I did it. I learned Saria's song. Now I can leave the forest forever and never return.
Who let me talk?
I
Who
don't
did
know.
it?
Not me.
Which one of you? This chat, they're encouraging me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna close this curtain. I don't want to. Oh, that was a weird face. Sorry. Squeaky.
Hoot hoo! Did you learn an ocarina song from Saria?
Yeah.
That melody seems to have some mysterious power. There may be some other mysterious songs like this that you can learn in Hyrule. If you hold the ocarina with C where a melody is necessary, a musical staff will appear. I recommend that you play a song you know. I also suggest that you play even when a score is not displayed, just like this. Hoo hoo hoo, hoot hoot hoot. Do you want to hear what I said again?
No.
Melodies you have learned will be recorded on the quest status subscreen. You should memorize those melodies. Goodbye, hoot hoot.
Have you ever played Wizard 101?
Nope.
You sound like one of the professors.
You sound like a professor. Like Professor Dumbass. Ooh, got him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Fucking yeah. Eat dirt.
You eat dirt.
You
Stop
eat
telling
dirt.
me to eat dirt.
I won't stop telling you to eat dirt because you keep not eating dirt.
Henny keeps telling me to eat dirt. Every time she sees me, every morning. Every morning she's like, Jack,
Every morning I tell Jack to eat some dirt and then they don't because that's a bad idea.
why
That was
did,
Big Brother.
how
I
did you
see.
do that?
By the way, do you know the music coming from deep inside this tunnel? We all like this music.
I do know her. I had a Professor Dumbass in college. I'm sure everyone's had a Professor Dumbass at some point. Mom, stop calling all food dirt.
Shut up and eat your dirt.
Shut up and eat your dirt.
This is the best cutscene in the game.
Look at this fucking dance.
Oh! Oh, oh! Come on! Come on, come on, come on! Ah! What a hot beat! Whoa! Yeah! Yahoo! Hey, what a nice tune. Just like that, my depression is all gone. Something just came over me. I suddenly wanted to dance like crazy.
Can we fix the depressed guy's depression?
What voice did I give?
I don't know.
I am Darunia. I'm the big boss of the Gorons. Was there something you wanted to ask me about?
Oh, he was slightly Nordic. That I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
What? You want the spiritual stone of fire too? The spiritual stone of fire, also known as the Goron's ruby, is our race's hidden treasure. You have to race us for it. But hold on, I'm not going to give it to you that easily. If you want it so badly, why don't you go destroy the monsters inside of the Dongle's cavern and prove you're a real man?
I'm 12.
I'm 12.
That way, everybody will be happy again. If you do it, I will give you anything you want, even the spiritual stone. I have something for you. I'm not really giving you this in return for anything, but take it anyway. If you wear this, even a little fella like you can pick up a bomb flower using a... We got the Goron's bracelet. Now we're strong.
Looks like a crown.
Yeah. Also, it actually is on his medal.
Oh, that's cool.
Magic bracelet.
Hey bro, check out my number one secret to getting swole. It's jewelry.
Oh, I can throw bomb. There's some stuff here that I can do with bomb, but I'm gonna get real bomb first instead of this fake bomb. Who put the bomb in the bomb? Like that guy down there.
I've just realized November's almost over, and I have not gotten anyone a Christmas present yet.
Beep boop, boop 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 boop. Sends a child to deal with an infestation of hulking, violent, fire-breathing lizards. Can't forget the fact that they breathe fire.
Yeah, can't do it. Don't forget. Boom.
Fuck that sign.
And that Goron.
Why did
down
nobody
there.
think to blow open the cave, to like blast open the cave with bombs? Or even better yet, they're all starving because they eat rocks and they don't have rocks to eat. Just eat the rock.
Eat the rocks.
Eat the boulder.
Eat it.
I've got another bottle full of bugs. I'm gonna leave one empty bottle in case there's berries.
Good idea. Hey, where'd Navi go? Oh, there she is. Okay.
She's hanging out in my hat.
She's in your hat. I just like suddenly realized that I hadn't seen her in a while.
Yeah, when she's not needed, she hangs out in your hat.
She's cute.
Pokemon adjacent universe confirmed. Children must do all of the work.
For real.
Okay, now that we're in the fire cave, I should equip the fireproof shield.
Pokemon's like, okay, you're 10. It's time for you to go out into the world on your own and fight monsters. With other monsters. Oh, look how cool he looks. He's all posed.
The shield is too big for him. He just does this.
Aww, that's so cute.
It looks like there are many lava pits around here, so watch your step. If you step in one, you'll get more blaze than me. I get it. Where did I leave my tiny bong? My bing.
It's in Link's hat.
Oh, there it is.
He's like smoke billowing out of his head.
Yeah.
There's a little hole in the back of your hat for a chimney. Hope you don't mind.
No, she wouldn't do that. She wants to be hotboxing.
Yeah. Hotboxing Link's hat.
You guys tell I've never
You found the
smoked
dungeon
weed
map.
before.
I found a map. I'm the map, 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 I'm the map.
I'm the map. What is that?
Goron beats.
Oh, okay. Home is nigh insurmountable. Time to deploy the ultimate weapon. A small child. Hey, why are you complaining about not having food? There's a whole acre of parsley. Parsley's edible, go ahead. I would eat cilantro if I was starving.
Look, okay. Here, let's put it this way. Okay? So, you're complaining because there's not enough food to eat, right?
How random is that finding the dungeon map in the dungeon map chest?
You know, we've been playing a lot of randomizers. This is not that. Anyway, think about it this way. Okay, an evil man has come and
plugged up the grocery store, right? Or like the food stores with a giant ball of cilantro. Right? It's impassable cilantro. Like, it's gonna suck. But you could eat that.
Yeah. Maybe there's someone who really likes cilantro.
Yeah. Alright, where'd those babies go? I
Like
know
my
there's
dad.
at least one baby left. I hear a Skulltula, but I can't get up there yet. Anyway, where'd that baby go? I need that baby to blow up the wall. I need to use that baby to blow up the wall. I'm gonna have to respawn the babies. The baby Dodongos! You didn't see them?
No.
They were all over the place. They were going, "Brrr," and jumping at me, and then you hit them and they exploded. You weren't...
I don't know.
Are you even slightly paying attention? Because they were everywhere.
No, I am slightly paying attention.
Only slightly.
A little bit. I got like 5 other things going on in my brain right now.
Yeah, and they should all be paying attention to the babies.
Well, but I gotta pay attention to...
I gotta...
pay attention to, you know, the children that I'm babysitting right now, so...
Okay, well, those babies and also the Dodongo babies.
Yeah.
They're cute and I killed them.
They've got 3 hours of...
Lizzlefoss, they make the funniest noise.
They've got 3 hours of this daycare and then another 3 hours of the other daycare.
Yeah.
Gotta swap teachers after a few hours.
Says Lizzlefoss.
Hey, Nemo or Tay, how you doing today?
Isn't that just the best noise ever, though?
It's pretty funny. Look at him hop. Look at his hops. Fucking hops. I called all of chat baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm babysitting you guys. That's how this
Come on
works.
over here, buddy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure so is Kenj.
You're over 40 and you're still baby.
You are being babysat. I would not complain if someone visited and hung out with me for 4 hours, maybe got me a snack. Yeah, true. I'm a grown man with the heart of a baby. I am a warrior.
Hey, eat this.
Would anybody believe the closest I've ever come to playing a Zelda game is the characters and maps in Smash Bros? Yeah, I believe that.
Hey, eat that. He didn't eat it.
He don't want to eat it.
That's a full-grown Dodongo.
It's snack time. Why you no eat it? Eat the snack.
Snack his bombs.
Some folks are sadly deprived. Yeah.
Dodongo dislikes smoke.
Well, the reason we started this series is because I'd never finished a Zelda game.
And now you have, and so because you've hit that milestone once already, I'm just playing them now.
Yeah. Well, Penny's playing because I'm in winter hibernation EP mode.
Also, it's fun for me to play
Yeah.
the game.
And it's fun for Penny.
Ow. By the way, if your wooden shield gets hit by fire, it will burn away. That's why I'm using this more unwieldy shield.
Yeah.
Unshieldy.
Unshieldy. He dropped a heart.
I know.
Smash is fun.
Smash is fun. You wouldn't know it from how Jack hates playing with me.
Smash is fun once for me. But even though I'm not very competitive, There's really only so many times you can lose to the same person.
It's me. I'm the person.
Yeah.
Because I'm really good at Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
I'm not like professional level or anything, but for a casual player, I'm pretty good.
I think you could be a professional player if that's all you did, ever.
Well, sure, if that's all I did, but I have other stuff to do.
Like play Pokemon.
Like play Pokemon, and this,
And this.
and Dark Souls, and all sorts of other stuff also.
So they're gonna all, like, chain explode.
Well, that's the idea, but I didn't put him in the right place.
No, that's fine. You did it.
No, I didn't.
Oh.
Anyway, I gotta put this here. Yeah, and marry my wife. My wife that I'm not married to yet.
Animorph's never played or a Mega Man either. Animorph, what do you do?
Yeah, I play Dark Souls occasionally.
Yeah,
I'm a Dark Souls gamer. I'm a gamer. I game.
Penny's a gamer.
I found the compass. I found the complimentary ass.
Nice. You
That's an Armos.
started Bloodborne a few months ago. Oh, cool.
Neat.
Wish.
Bloodborne's a fun game.
I am
It's
not.
very different from other Souls-likes, though.
I will never play a Souls-like. I just won't.
I mean, that's fair if you don't like that kind of game.
No.
No reason to torture yourself with it. Except funny.
Yeah, there's commitment to the bit, and then there's torturing myself. Animorph is an armored core boy. Ah, okay.
Funny. Torture yourself for fun and profit.
Man, I looked at my Sims 4 hours the other day, and it was in the
Never do
thousands.
Never do that, you're wasting your life. It's these guys again. They're even in the volcano.
Why?
To torture you specifically.
Don't like them.
I know.
They're yucky.
It's not like you spent the entire first dungeon complaining about it or anything.
It's better when I'm not playing for some reason.
Because it's not you dealing with them.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Oh, is there a way to calculate how many hours I played Sims 3 across various computers? It should say... Oh, I guess the Steam one is also, like, I've played a little while. But it's mostly you on Steam. So it should say.
Yeah, but Steam was not
Oh, yeah.
around when Moxie was
You can
playing.
take that and then multiply it by 10, probably. Yeah, you gotta multiply it by, like, 100.
Off the bridge.
A lot of Sims has been played.
Yes, so much Sims. I spent a lot of time watching Moxie play The Sims.
You never know when you're around the corner in these narrow paths. Use Z targeting to always look in the proper direction. This is a useful technique, isn't it? This
Armored
fucking
Core,
blade
League of
guys.
Legends, Smash Bros, WoW, RuneScape, Halo 2. You're a League player?
Oof, League player. Let's all point and laugh at the League
Shame.
player.
I actually don't give a shit what games you play.
League player plays League.
As long as you're having fun.
As long as you're having fun and you're not making anyone else not have fun.
Yeah.
Like most League players do.
Really?
Yeah, the League community is super toxic. That's why it has the reputation it does.
Ah.
Honestly, League is a really fun game.
Oh, Satisfactory is good. My dad really likes that.
Like, League is a really fun game. It's the community that sucks ass.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're just, like, playing against bots with your friends, it's fine. Like, I've played a few matches here and there. It's a perfectly fine game.
What happened to your gamer skills?
My gamer skills have never even once been able to fucking blow up this fucking wall. I've never been able to blow up that wall first try.
Ooh. You need to finish your alerts. Have you finished your alerts?
My gamer skills. Anyway, I'm just tired. I'm getting tired, and I'm just like going on autopilot at this point.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm like autopiloting. See, those are the babies.
Oh, they're cute. Well, guys, looks like Pokemon.
Yeah, those are Goma larvae. All the Goma stages look like fucking Pokemon.
Yeah, but the specific Pokemon. What's he called? It's not Kakuna, it's the other one.
You're thinking of Metapod.
Yeah, Metapod.
It does look like Metapod.
Looks like Metapod.
I didn't realize until very recently that they're wearing little cloths.
Oh, they are.
And they have little breastplates on.
They got little bras.
Yeah. They got little metal bras and they got little loincloths.
Yeah, finish your alerts, I say, having not finished my alerts either.
And they have little swords and little sheath for their swords too. I like the little spin they do with the jaw there.
When people say this game is so toxic, I'm like, you haven't played League, have you? Oh no. That sucks. This is why I play with people that I know. Like, I really like Splatoon.
Oh, I'm on fire.
I really like Splatoon.
Nobody plays it.
But playing Splatoon online is the worst experience I have ever had with the game.
I know. I play the solo modes, honestly.
I'm
And then
fine
I
with the
kind of
solo
just
mode.
like, I'm like, eh.
I'm fine with the solo mode. I really like the multiplayer mode.
I also
But-
really like the multiplayer, except for the whole multiplayer part of it.
Except for the other people. So, like, if I could play with bots on Splatoon, I would love that.
Yeah, I
It would
would
be
do that
fun.
all the time. You know what mode is
Or
super
with
fun?
people like I actually know.
You know what Splatoon mode is super fun? We got the bomb bag!
Bomb bag!
This bomb-holding bag is made from a Dodongo's stomach.
Oh, cool.
There's 20 bombs inside. Now you can blow stuff up.
The Dongo leather.
Yep.
My dad and I found a leather store.
I can't wait to go bomb some Dodongos.
I just realized I haven't told this story on stream. My dad and I found a leather store to buy sheets of leather, right, for crafting. Not the other type of leather store. My mom thought it was the other type of leather store. I would not be comfortable in that type
With
of
that
leather
switch
store.
on, the moving platform goes higher. Now you can quickly reach the second floor.
Anyways, so we went in, and it smelled so good. Like that leather smell. I love it. I love it so much. Have fun with your life, Animort.
Yeah!
But yeah,
Have fun anymore,
so
Tay.
we thought like, you know when you go to Michael's or something, and you get like a little sheet of leather, and it's like $10 for like a little like 5x5 sheet of leather. This was half a cow.
Giant dead Dodongo. When it sees red, a new way to go will be open.
Half a cow. We got it for like $60. So you go to Michael's, like 5x5 sheet, like $10. To get half a cow, it would be so expensive. It was $60 for half a cow. You could get one that was like $30 for half a cow. I picked an expensive leather. That's my fault. But like, it was so cheap for so much leather. I don't know what we're gonna do with all the leather because we literally couldn't buy anything less than a half a cow. And I just need like a little bit for a journal cover. I'm gonna make Dad one too. But yeah, I'm gonna start junk journaling. I think it'll be fun. And I want to get like a
does sound
little.
fun.
I want to get like a little.
Ah,
picture.
I'm on fire and there's a bat.
Do you want to start junk journaling with me?
No,
Oh.
I would never be able to commit to it.
Well, that's the fun thing is you don't really have to commit to it. You just kind of collect trash, and then you glue the trash into the book so you can remember the day that you had.
Huh. Neat.
And you could do like doodles.
I'm pretty sure that's
and-
not what Bort Simpson says.
Yeah, Blort Simpson. Blort Slimson does not say that.
No, see, there's a joke in the show where they're at Itchy and Scratchy Land, and Bart's trying to find a commemorative license plate with his name on it, but he can only find one that says Bort. And he's like, Bort? And he's like, are you talking to me? No, my son is also named Bort. Just come along, Bort. And then he meets like 2 people named Bort.
Wow. Can't believe you didn't blow yourself up there.
That guy really tried. Bum-ba-da-da-da.
I haven't really watched The Simpsons. I've seen like clips, but
Also, I've got gamer skills.
gamer skills. I don't.
I've got these hot gamer
I
skills.
would've.
And that's why we're only like... We still have 20 minutes left, and we're almost done with the second dungeon.
Yeah. It's because Penny's playing. Bart Simpson.
Well, Bart is short for Bartholomew.
Yeah.
His full name is Bartholomew J. Simpson.
A fairy. We got a fairy.
Homer's middle initial is also J. It's short for J, like J-A-Y.
Michigan J Frog.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime guy.
I actually haven't seen that.
You haven't seen any of the Michigan J. Frog cartoons?
No.
Old Looney Tunes bits.
I just know the meme.
That guy is the original Gaslighter.
Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. Says Michigan J Frog.
Yeah. I don't think we can gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss our way out of this one, boys.
D&D be like.
Yep. In a block,
Pushing a block.
pushing a block into this hole. So, do you want me to fight him normally, or do you want me to fight him with the fast method?
You could do either. It's
I'm
up
doing
to
it
you.
normal.
You could do like
J.
semi-normal. A little fast. A little bit fast.
Nah, I'm just gonna do it normal.
Speedrun.
If I was gonna speedrun, I'd just hit him with a stick and he'd die in one cycle.
Why is the stick so powerful?
The stick is crazy strong. It breaks after one hit, but if you do a jump attack with it, it's like the same power as like the fucking
Time to
like
bomb,
Master
bomb
Sword.
some dodongos. Eat it.
That's the Dongo song. I actually really like his boss music.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Oh, he rolling. There he goes. Bye. Eat it. He's like a little bomb vacuum.
He's a really easy boss.
Oh, look at his wiggles. Best feature, his wiggles.
Yeah. He was fine until he stumbled into the lava.
Like a dumbass.
Also, he's called King Dodongo, but he's just in this tiny little cavern. He's in this tiny little cavern on a platform barely big enough for him to stand on. And you just break into his house and throw him in the lava. Throw bombs and down his throat.
Yeah.
Rude.
You're just feeding him snacks.
Yeah. Bomb snack.
Bomb snack. It's a little spicy. Oh, hey bud. I just realized he's not wearing any pants.
He is not. It's me, Darunia. Well done.
Thanks to you, we can once again eat the delicious rocks from the Dodongo's cavern until our stomachs burst.
He's super naked.
What a wild adventure. It will make an incredible story. I can't believe that the Dodongos suddenly appeared in such great numbers. And that big rock blocking the cave. All this trouble must have been caused by that Gerudo thief, Ganondorf. He said, "Give me the spiritual stone, only then will I open the cave for you." You, on the other hand, risked your life for us. Kid, I like you. How's about you and I become sworn brothers?
Okay.
No, there's no big ceremony involved. Just take this as a token of our friendship. And my non-distinct accent. I can't decide on what sort of accent I want him to do.
Lasagna noticed how naked he was.
He's like, oh no, I just looked up.
Don't look down. It's so pretty.
Don't ask where I was keeping this.
Way to ruin it.
It was in my beard.
That's a good place to keep things.
You don't know what he means by sworn brothers, but you've collected 2 spiritual stones. You have 1 more to find.
Brother,
Where did
you
we get
keep
the
brushing up on
spiritual
your
stone?
skills.
From the Deku tree.
Oh, right.
The skills as you travel, won't you? You should go see the great fairy on top of Death Mountain. She will power you up. Hey, everybody, let's see off our brother.
That was like 2.5 hours ago.
You did great. How about a big Goron hug, brother?
My reaction when family comes over. When it's Thanksgiving and
He's
you're
like,
5.
I'm fine. He's like, I'm fine with hugs, but you will break my entire spine.
When when it's Thanksgiving and you're 5.
Yeah. Dropping what? Am I making references to things I don't know again?
Probably.
Damn it.
Aim. There you go.
It's not my aim that's the problem, it's my timing.
Ah. He's channeling. Channeling what?
Cow cave.
Okay.
Cow cave. This is the infinite money cow cave.
Ooh, infinite money cow cave.
Yeah, there's 25 bucks in here and a cow.
Okay.
If you play Saria's song, or not Saria's song, if you play Epona's song for a cow, it gives you a free bottle of milk.
Oh. Oh gosh. Oh my god.
Ah, okay.
Got it.
It's how we say we're boyfriends, but without the gay part.
Got it. To get around the censorship.
Yeah. We're gonna have to start doing that in the US pretty soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go away, K4 and Gamora.
We don't want to talk.
I don't want any.
Oh wait, is that why the dad looks like an owl in Skyward Sword?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Also, because everyone looks like birds in that game anyway.
Well, yeah, but
But yes, his design was based on K4 and Gamora.
oh, here we go.
Do we have to censor this? Do we have to, like, blur this?
No. She's wearing clothes.
I meant her face.
Oh, her face?
Welcome, lasagna. I am the Great Fairy of Power. I'm going to grant you a sword technique. Receive it now.
The books are openly spicy.
I'm 12. Oh, you mean like an actual... Oh, okay, like a spin attack. Okay.
Yeah, she scared me.
That's the secret sword technique of the spin attack. It looks like you're just holding her up.
I wonder if Chapel Rowan has ever played this game. Inspiration.
Yeah. When you charge power for a spin attack, magic power will be consumed. Pay attention to your green magic meter. Hey boy, you're a messenger of the royal family, aren't you? Next time you're in their neighborhood, you should drop in on a friend of mine who lives by Hyrule Castle.
A feminine phenomenon.
The feminine omicon. She'll surely grant you another new power. What battle has made you weary? Please come back to see me.
Her makeup's kind of iconic.
Yep.
I don't know why she has an evil laugh, though.
It's just how she be. God forbid women do anything.
God forbid women do anything.
Hoot! Well, it looks like you've grown up a little from the Great Fairy's power.
I'm making his voice sillier every time.
Do it.
But you still don't really look like the hero of Safe Hyrule, at least not yet. If you are going back down the mountain, I can lend you a wing. Come here and grab my talons and hold on tight. Hoot!
Actually, you know what that voice reminds me of? It's the narrator for The Hobbit. For the Audible audiobook. He sounds exactly like that. Look at our fancy camera angles.
Yeah.
Making me dizzy.
It's like, look at all these environments we made.
Yeah, you're on the roof.
Anyway, I did that specifically so I can get up onto this roof, because if I drop down here and go in this, there is a Pizza Heart.
A Pizza Heart!
Collect 4 pieces, get another heart container, more pieces means more life energy.
Life energy!
Life
You should
energy.
save. You've
Oh,
not
yeah.
saved in a while.
It has been a little while. Like a whole dungeon.
Yeah.
Anyway, while I'm here...
Hey.
How many Skullatulas have I killed? 15? Okay, that's not enough. I need 20 before I can get the next thing from the curse guys.
Can you play the song for him and make him less depressed?
No. Oh. Got a magic jar! Wait. Hold on. Actually, there is something else I need to do here.
I really need you to finish that song.
You're welcome.
No, I think that made it worse.
I did! I played the last note!
Question mark?
Go around and around and around. What fun! I'm so happy. I'm a music man who loves to go around and around. Go around and around and around. I'm trying to come up with a musical theme inspired by this windmill. Going around and around and around and around. Oh right, I can't actually do that yet. There you go.
There we go. Whew.
Yeah, you were really panicking there for a minute. Look at this guy in his gay little run.
Oh my god, I love him.
Have you seen Mr. Dampe, who lives in the graveyard up ahead? It's 12 o'clock right now, so he's probably asleep in his hut. Why don't you go out onto the field and kill some time?
No thanks.
Okay,
Did
bye.
the Cuckoos get out again?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
But you only get your one warp from Waffle Waffle.
Hmm. It's an Edwin impression.
I'm just doing an Edwin impression.
Chuckles is also an Edwin impression.
Yep.
A delicious taffy skin.
You shouldn't call us when there's children going missing. We're just gonna make it worse.
Such is the nature of Chuckles.
Yep. There's lots of hidden grottos around. Have you found any hidden grottos? I have. There's one under that rock. Rock the Casbah. I'm not gonna do anything major coming up, but like
I wanna put together a group to do stream D&D on Thursdays after we're done with Baldur's Gate.
Yes.
okay, but are you DMing or am I DMing?
No, I would DM. I mean, unless you want to DM.
I do not.
I would DM.
Torbek's throat doesn't like making Torbek's voice.
Have you seen the? Because I know you haven't. You were just watching the shorts, right?
Yeah, I've just seen some of the
Have
animations.
you seen the one where Torbek shows what he thinks his voice sounds like?
Yes.
Torbek thinks he sounds like. Torbek believes Torbek sounds like this.
Hi! Welcome to the Happy Mask Shop. We deal in masks that bring happiness to everyone.
I don't like his face.
How would you like to be a happiness salesman? I'll lend you a mask. You sell the mask and bring the money back here. If you want to read the fine print, take a look at the sign right over there. After you've sold all the masks, you will become happy yourself. Have faith. Hi! Welcome to the Happy Mask Shop.
Yeah, Margarine's mask.
I already did this, I'm not doing it again.
That's fair.
Ugh. Good thing I'm going to a doctor today.
Yeah, this guy needs to chill.
Also, I have a bomb bag, so I can do bomb shoe bowling.
Oh, she's cute.
Huh?
Who's
What?
this alt cutie?
Uh-oh. A customer. Welcome to our cutting-edge amusement center, the Bomb Chew Bowling Alley. You want to know what you can win? Well, it's a secret. I can't tell you until you pay to play. It's 30 rupees per game. Do you want to play? Okay. Aim for the hole in the center and let Bomb Chew go. You get 10 tries. Ready? Let's bowl. Oh, I almost forgot. Here's what you can win. Start.
It's a piece of art. Okay. This is the hardest minigame. So we're gonna see if I can do this.
You got this.
I have some experience bomb chew bowling, but I'm still not good at it. I don't know that it's possible to be good at it. Fuck. No, I'm not getting this first try.
There you go. Now you know where it is, though.
Yeah, but it changes.
Oh. There's a big fucking cuckoo! Someone was fucking around in the game editor making this shit.
Yep. Fuck. Fuck. on! Damn it!
Little bit.
So close. Too high. Damn it! Well, I'll come back and play. It's not like I'm hurting for rupees or anything. I just don't want to do it right now.
Mhm.
Anyway, that is our session, actually.
Yeah.
That's time.
Last time.
Good session. We did a lot, and by we, I mean me.
Yeah, you did a lot.
I did a lot. I did a lot of voices, and I did a lot of gameplay, some good gameplay.
And I sat here and looked cute.
It's true. You did do those things.
So, stay here for just a second. We're gonna go over and raid Blackwood.
Yeah, that's how we do.
Um,
Once Blackwood is online.
once they are ready.
Hey, Black, get your shit together.
The fam chat's talking about cheese.
Jeez.
Oh,
Aww.
I'm looking at the Discord now.
Yeah.
Nice. Cheese.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired, but after this, I gotta like go do a bunch of shit.
It's not quite noon yet.
Like I know.
Do you wanna run around some more?
Yeah, I can run around some more, do some more shit.
Ba-da-ba-da-ba. Cheese is love, cheese is life. Yeah, because technically when that says 3 hours, it's actually like 5 minutes.
This is the
so.
treasure box shop. I don't want to be in here yet. I could win that, but there's a guaranteed way to win it later in the game.
Yeah.
With a different item. What I wanted to do is be in the bomb chew shop.
Cool. Chew.
You got bomb chew. Carry in place with seat. This is a new type bomb that can even crawl up walls. Aim well and release it. This is a very useful item for some fairly specific things in the game.
My ear started ringing as soon as the rupees went, and so I went, "Oh, the rupee sound makes it feel like my ear is ringing," and then this rupee sound stopped and my ear was still ringing. I was like, "Oh,
yep,
never mind. It's just my dumb ears, my dumb body being dumb."
Line up the vine just right.
Hmm.
So, if you're wondering why we're back here, it's because we're doing what the other Great Fairy said. We're going to visit her sister, friend,
Yeah.
lover? I don't know.
Wait, no.
Friend and lover
Yeah.
who looks identical to her.
You know, a lot of people think goths look the same, so it's just a style.
Yeah, which was the style at the time.
Yeah.
Welcome, Lasagna. I am the Great Fairy of Magic. I will give you a magic spell. Please take it.
Cool.
It is a different voice because she's a different person.
Yeah. Are we sure we don't have to censor this? No. No, we're not sure.
Din's fire! Its fireball engulfs everything. It's attack magic you can use with C.
Cool.
It's the only useful spell. You can use Din's fire not only to attack, but also to burn things.
Mm.
When battle has made you weary, please come back to see me. Inspires hella good.
Hmm?
Hella good.
Right now, you should save, and we'll.
Now I'm gonna save.
It's probably time.
Save quit.
It's almost time for Black to be live.
It's almost time.
It's actually 1 minute past time. They're late. They're running late.
It's almost time for Visual Wednesday.
Wednesday. Or maybe Minecraft. I don't know. I don't know if they decided what they were doing. You EP?
Yeah, I'm EP. But I can't eep. I have to get dressed and do all my daily ablutions for
Yeah, Vibey Wednesday.
That's right. Do all of my daily ablutions for getting out to the doctor. That's what I was thinking of.
The doctor.
The doctor.
The doctor. I have to clean the living room today.
Yeah.
Put all of the D&D stuff away.
I have to cry.
You have to take all your stuff
cry.
off the table.
And cry. And
Nope.
cry.
Nope.
And cry.
Nope. Nope.
Crying.
Nope. Don't do that.
Crying right now.
No, you're not.
My eye is watering.
Are you making yourself cry?
No, I was yawning.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's a commitment to the bit that's not necessary. They can't see you.
I know, but I'm just so sad.
There they do. All right.
There they do.
Enough of this nonsense.
Use it. Oh, it's
everyone.
FNAF 2.
You. Everyone hop in the raid. Make sure you're actually in there. And I will see you over in Blackwood's house. All right. Swapping babysitters time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.